Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Shelter Game. I can synthesize infinitely. Chapter 81. According to Bai Yi's understanding, the Dark Elves were driven from the ground to the dungeon because their personalities were very different from other elves. As a clan of elves, Dark Elves also have all the characteristics of elves. Basically, they are all beautiful and have good figures. The only difference is the skin color of the Dark Elves, most of which are lavender. Well, how to put it, it may sound ugly, but in Bai Yi's memory, many people who saw Dark Elves in the previous life thought Dark Elves were beautiful. This also piqued his interest. As he controlled the character to run wildly, he could see black mist passing by, and roars coming from time to time. Some monsters were chasing him, but at Bai Yi's swift speed, these monsters quickly lost track of Bai Yi. Some ordinary monsters, Bai Yi has no interest in fighting. After all, he can't use the materials on ordinary monsters now. It took half an hour, day and night, to reach the destination. Looking at the city wall in front of him, Bai Yi was amazed. Through the picture on the mobile phone screen, you can clearly see that in front of the character, there is a black city wall about 3 meters high, made of unknown stone, and extremely hard. There should also be a lot of mithril powder added to it, so that the city wall looks a little bright in the dark, and has good anti-magic ability. There is no doubt that this is the wall of the Dark Elf town. Standing outside the city wall, Bai Yi felt silence. Except for the sound of wind, he could not hear any sound. After walking around the city wall, Bai Yi found the gate of the town. When you walk in, you will see a spacious, 850, road. There are 2 rows of neat houses on the side, but due to unknown reasons, they have become ruins. Only a handful of houses remain partially in a crumbling condition. Bai Yi saw a treasure chest. It was a black iron treasure chest in a ruins nearby. Good luck. A smile appeared on his face and he walked over immediately. But just as he got closer, there was a bang, and a hand suddenly stretched out from the ground, grabbed his leg and pulled him to the ground. The powerful force almost pulled Bai Yi down. FK. Bai Yi was startled, but fortunately he reacted quickly enough. He also burst out with powerful force, broke free from the restraints, and condensed the magic sword with his backhand to strike out with 10 swords. There was a bang. The slash landed on the ground and immediately opened a deep mark. At the same time, a corpse appeared in the field of vision, hit by a slash and split into 2. Before he could check, the clicking sounds kept coming. Figures emerged from the ground one after another. Roar. The roaring sound is endless. Bai Yi became vigilant subconsciously, and a look of horror flashed through his eyes. Are they all undead? The skin of each of these corpses was sunken, like withered bones. If it weren't for the faint green will-o'-the-wisp in the pupils, Bai Yi wouldn't be able to feel it. There is no doubt that these must have been Dark Elves in the past, but they turned into undead for unknown reasons and slept under the town. His arrival disturbed these undead souls, causing them to wake up. There was no time to think about it, and he saw almost a dozen undead Dark Elves wake up, let out a low roar, and then swarmed towards him. As the undead transformed from Dark Elves, they have not turned into complete bones, so they still retain some of the characteristics of life and are extremely fast. And at the moment when they rushed over, they all seemed to be invisible, and their traces disappeared. Trouble. Bai Yi muttered and immediately waved his staff to display an absorption shield. The moment the shield emerged, attacks landed on the barrier, making clanging sounds. The most annoying thing is you guys who are neither alive nor dead. He was obviously dead, but because he was infected with the aura of death and was in the process of transforming into an undead, he began to transform into another life form. But because of the incomplete transformation, some of the abilities he had during his lifetime still remain. Dark Elves, for example, are good at hiding. This ability will only be lost after being completely transformed into an undead. These Dark Elf undead have not completely become undead, and it takes time, so they are much more difficult to deal with than ordinary undead. In desperation, Bai Yi could only shake the ground with his staff, and his heart moved. Holy flame! Boom! The flames roared up, like a fire snake wrapping around Bai Yi. In an instant, the undead Dark Elves hiding around Bai Yi and attacking him were ignited one after another, revealing their bodies. They melted without even having time to scream. To defeat a mob, you have to use a big move. This is also the reason why Bai Page is angry. It's not enough if you don't use it. If it gets caught, the day's gaming trip will be over. Fire fills the air. In an instant, all the dark elves and undead around him died. But the battle is not over. A sound broke through the air. Dark green undead balls smashed over. Bai Yi's heart moved. He looked up and saw 4 dark elf necromancers holding staffs standing in the distance. The absorption shield absorbs attacks from the undead orb. Immediately afterwards, Bai Yi raised his right hand and waved forward. The entangled golden flame suddenly turned into a golden dragon and roared away. You guys should die too. Boom. The flames immediately engulfed the necromancer and burned him to ashes. The area suddenly became quiet again. Bai Yi exhaled, dispersed the shield, came to the treasure box, reached out and opened it. You opened the black iron treasure chest and obtained map X1. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket map. Close black lens bracket. Description. Special props. After use, you can get a detailed map of the area under your feet. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the description of the blank map in his hand, Bai Yi's eyes suddenly lit up. Hey, this thing is good, it came just in time. Bai Yi chose to use it without hesitation. I saw flames starting to burn in the upper right corner of the map and spreading to other places. Where the flames burned, roots and markers began to appear. After it was completely burned, the map of the entire Dark Elf town was completely displayed in front of you. Hey, you're so damn big. Bai Yi took a deep breath and was shocked. He didn't know it before he came in. After looking at the map, he realized that although this was a town, its scope was not small, and it was completely equivalent to a city. Libraries, residential buildings, breeding farms, taverns, barracks, etc. Various buildings are clearly marked on the map. There is also the Dark Elf Castle in the center of the town, which is undoubtedly where the town ruler lives, the Dark Queen of this branch of Dark Elf. Of course, that was in the past, and whether or not you are alive now is a question. But judging from the area, there were definitely a lot of Dark Elves that once lived here. At least tens of thousands. It's a bit difficult. Bai Yi touched his chin with a thoughtful expression. It's just that if the area was large, he wouldn't be like this. The key is that the undead Dark Elves before gave him a guess. Dark Elves generally do not transform into undead after death. Unless there is a powerful undead creature in the town, because its own strength is too strong, the yin energy emitted will make these Dark Elves transform into undead. If this is the case, it means that the number of undead in this town will definitely not be small. After all, if this is the case, the undead being transformed will not be the only ones like just now. At least it's an average amount. As the number of undead increases, some powerful leader-level beings will definitely be born among them. Thinking of the town below, with at least tens of thousands of undead, I felt a numb scalp day and night. No matter how strong he is, he has not reached the level of qualitative change. With such a huge number, no matter how many people pile him up, he can be killed. But, if you are afraid of a hammer, you will die if you die. Tomorrow you will be a good man again. It's in a game anyway, not reality. Bai Yi gritted his teeth, put away the map, and walked towards the library. It was impossible for him to aimlessly explore a ruined town. In that case, when darkness falls, 1/3 of the town may not be fully explored. He must find his own target first. Although you will miss a lot of things, such as some treasure chests or materials. But it's better than missing out on the succubus, right? Succubus. If it is sealed in the city, then there is a high probability that it is in the castle. No reason. The main thing is first-hand intuition. He is not in a hurry to go there now. He will go to the library first to see if there are any books. If there are any, take them all away so that he can go back and build a study room when he dies. And I got sulfur today, so I can even build hot springs. Thinking of this, Bai Yi quickened his pace. Of course, the action is still relatively light. Although you will die if you die, it is definitely best if you don't die. It took another half an hour to reach the library day and night. Otherwise, this place is huge. After arriving here, Bai Yi found that half of the library collapsed, but half of it was intact. There was silence all around. Bai Yi carefully stepped into the library, looked up, and his eyes suddenly showed excitement. Hey, there are so many books. Rows of bookshelves are neatly placed in front of you. And these bookshelves are filled with densely packed books. The number was so large that Bai Yi felt that there were at least several thousand copies after a rough calculation. Enough, absolutely enough, ha ha ha. Bai Yi was ecstatic and immediately stepped forward to put these books away. But I didn't expect that as soon as I touched a book, it turned into ashes and dissipated. Depend on. Bai Yi couldn't help it immediately and touched the second book, but the result was the same. Isn't it necessary? Bai Yi's mouth twitched, with a bad feeling. The books here must have been stored for too long and have been eroded by time. It's okay if they don't move, but they will completely turn into dust if they are moved. But that can't be the case for everything, right? Bai Yi took a deep breath and could only try each bookshelf one by one. Fortunately, although most of the books have been eroded and dissipated by time, but almost 2,000 copies have survived. This made him sigh in relief. 2,000 copies, plus the ones in my own backpack, should be enough. If that doesn't work, keep looking, and you should be able to find more books. Bai Yi murmured and began to search in the library. While looking for books, I am also looking for treasure chests or other gains. Really, not long after, he found many books under the collapsed ruins of the other half of the library, most of which were well preserved. There were almost 1,000 books, and Bai Yi put them all into his backpack. This way, it's almost enough. Enough. Quote. Bai Yi raised the corners of his mouth and smiled. Now that I have collected the books, it's time to check out other places. Ha! Suddenly, Bai Yi let out a cry of surprise and saw a flash of light on the second floor of the library. Thinking it was an illusion, Bai Yi rubbed his eyes and looked again, and his eyes lit up. It's not an illusion, it's really shiny. I didn't expect there was a treasure chest on it. Because half of it collapsed. There are no stairs to the second floor. So Bai Yi had no intention of going up. But since there is a treasure chest, you definitely can't miss it. Bai Yi controlled the character and jumped directly to the second floor with a slight jump. When he looked at the location of the treasure chest, his face became even more happy. It's actually a silver treasure chest. I hope I can get some skill runes, but if that doesn't work, weapons, equipment, or some special props will do. Bai Yi murmured happily, then stretched out his hand to open it. There was a crash. A soft white light fills the air. Then a prompt popped up on the phone screen. You opened the silver treasure chest and obtained the skill runes, Mage's Hand, and Black Dragon Scales. Close black lens bracket. Damn it, it's really a skill rune. And besides the skill runes, there are also dragon scales. Bai Yi's eyes widened, and a happy smile suddenly appeared on his face. Just as he was about to check, a clicking sound suddenly sounded. This is. Bai Yi looked confused, looked around, and his face changed slightly. The entire library began to shake at some point. This place is going to fall. This guess came to Bai Yi's mind and he jumped out of the library without hesitation. With a bang, as soon as it landed, a rumbling sound was heard behind it. As he expected, the library collapsed completely, and the dust swept across, engulfing Bai Yi in an instant. In the billowing dust, Bai Yi held up the absorption shield and allowed the collapsed library to envelope him. Under the shield, no masonry or anything could bury him. But hearing the sound of the library collapsing, Bai Yi looked bitter. Broken. As the dust dispersed, sounds began to sound from far away or nearby. Kaka. This is the sound of the ground cracking. Looking around, in all directions, figures crawled out of the soil, their green will-o'-the-wisp pupils looking towards Bai Yi's position. Undead. All are undead. There are so many that people feel their scalp numb just looking at them. I knew it. Bai Yi had a complicated look on his face. He had this premonition the moment he felt that the library was about to collapse. The result was just as he thought. The noise caused by the collapse of the library was too great, and it was even more jarring in this silent town. Such a huge movement will naturally wake up the sleeping undead in the town. Bai Yi had roughly predicted the number of undead in the town before, so he kept his voice as low as possible. But I didn't expect this to happen. Roar. With the roar of an undead. Immediately afterwards, deafening sounds sounded. Countless undead souls rushed toward Bai Yi crazily. At the same time, there were undead spells all over the sky hitting him like artillery fire. Gone. Bai Yi cursed secretly and used the newly obtained skill rune without any hesitation. Hand of the Mage. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Mage skill runes can be learned after use. They can consume magic power and condense magic hands like arms to command. It not only makes combat and daily activities more convenient, but also contains powerful power. Close black lens bracket. This is a very practical spell. Bai Yi had seen it in his previous life. Only O2 had just gotten the spell and had no time to be surprised. He was about to start fighting. With the use of skill runes, Bai Yi suddenly had more information related to it in his mind and mastered it. Without hesitation, Bai Yi urged him directly. 2 blue arms immediately extended from Bai Yi's ribs and condensed into shape. These 2 arms are condensed with magic power and can be extended or become larger with Bai Yi's thoughts. At this moment, when his arms were condensed, Bai Yi held the staff in his right hand and waved it quickly, and 2 magic swords were condensed on his magic hands. Absorb shield. The staff dances again. The barrier enveloped itself, blocking the undead spells flying from the sky. The next moment, the undead army came towards us. With a thought, Bai Yi waved the sword with his magical arms, bursting out with magical slashes, slashing forward like mowing grass, and a large number of undead were decapitated on the spot, a complete death. But it didn't work. More undead rushed in desperately, and the scene was like a zombie craze in the apocalypse. Even in a certain aspect, the undead are the same as zombies. They have no pain, no fatigue, and some are just greedy for the living. Plus come and fight. We have reached this time, and we have nothing to fear day or night. With a move in his heart, the skill of the surging ring he had just obtained was used, and a blue light emerged from his body surface. Immediately, Bai Yi stepped out and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in another place. But as soon as it appeared, countless undead attacked. Too much. There are tens of thousands. In addition to ordinary undead, there were also many necromancers. He even saw hundreds of majestic undead knights trampling towards this direction in the distance. The power is definitely not comparable to that of ordinary undead. Even if he faces one alone, Bai Yi will feel some pressure. Let alone hundreds of them. Not daring to hesitate, Bai Yi used Shadow Shuttle again and came to another place. This time, we finally came to an area where there were no undead for the time being, but the undead rushed in very quickly. Bai Yi took a deep breath, and while waving his magic arms continuously, he also waved the staff. Shadow Energy Cannon. Boom. One shot down. Countless undead souls were involved. However, the undead knight forcefully broke away and charged with the terrifying undead knight. He can even get rid of the control of the Shadow Energy Cannon, which shows the strength of a high-level monster like the undead knight. Die. Bai Yi snorted coldly and activated the sacred flame. The golden flame soared into the sky, turned into a fire dragon and roared past, heading straight towards the area where the undead were densely packed. As if they sensed a fatal threat from the flames, the undead knights roared, and the undead aura wrapped around them, appearing in another place instantly as if they had transformed, and then continued to charge towards Bai Yi. At the same time, there was a bang. The Shadow Energy Cannon exploded. Engulfed in flames, caused violent explosion fluctuations. The undead in a small area were directly wiped out. Bai Yi had no time to be happy, because the undead knights charged from different directions, waving their spears as if to nail his soul. He could only use Shadow Shuttle to avoid this dangerous attack. After the figure appeared in another place, the field continued day and night. Shadow Energy Cannon. Holy Flame. 2 powerful skills are constantly released. The golden flames continued to engulf everything. The number of undead is also decreasing rapidly. At this moment, Bai Yi had no idea of retreating. There is really no way to retreat. With the undead knight around, it's impossible to escape. It's better to fight to the end and get rid of as many undead as possible. In this way, if there is still a chance to win. Even if he can't defeat him and dies here, it won't be a loss as long as he kills more undead, and it will make it easier for him to come here to explore next time. After all, this place is too big. Even if you don't explore all of it, just exploring those few areas will take a lot of time. If this kind of movement is not caused today, it may be caused in the future. If you can't hide, you have to fight. Rumble. Violent explosions continued to sound. The huge movement alarmed the undead farther away. But at the same time, there are countless undead souls melting under the terrifying holy flames. Bai Yi is still using Shadow Shuttle, changing positions, and avoiding the charge of the undead knight. There was a bang. Suddenly, Bai Yi was careless and was approached by an undead knight, who shot him across the face. Even if Bai Yi propped up the absorption shield in time, under the powerful blow of the undead knight, dense cracks immediately appeared in the shield, which was forcibly broken, and he was also swept away. Hiss, he is worthy of being an undead knight. This power is truly terrifying. Bai Yi grinned and looked amazed. Although I had expected it, after all, the undead knight was not an ordinary undead, and was also a strong one among the undead, but when I saw this power, I was still a little unbelievable. After all, this was the first time he saw a monster that could break his absorption shield. But I can only show off my power to you now. Bai Yi curled his lips. Whenever he met alone, the undead knight that Bai Yi could beat was called his mother. But now, he really couldn't withstand the undead knights who had hundreds of them at once. Not to mention that in addition to the undead knights, there are also densely packed undead and necromancers. It's hard for anyone to stand up to. Even in the last life, many powerful people turned green when they saw the same thing. Shaking his head, Bai Yi controlled the character to get up quickly. A shadow shuttled away into the distance, and then turned around and blasted out with a combination of shadow energy cannon, plus holy flame. There was a boom. Another large undead fell to the ground. Even 2 undead knights died under this horrific explosion. Seeing this, Bai Yi was overjoyed and was about to leave the country again. But at this moment, roar! A deafening roar came from the center of the town. Under this sound, all the undead instantly became quiet. Bai Yi looked startled, as if he had thought of something, and hurriedly turned to look at the source of the sound. A huge figure flew out from the distant castle and headed straight for this place. The huge wings flapped like a raging wind. Will-o'-the-wisps danced in his pupils, like 2 huge braziers. Nima, there is actually a bone dragon in this place. Bai Yi looked at the huge figure in front of him, and everyone was dumbfounded. The huge white bone dragon, entwined with the aura of the undead, looked down on it from high in the sky, like a king among the undead scorning the ants. A roar! The dark green dragon's breath spurted out directly, as if it turned into a torrent. Bai Yi's mouth twitched slightly, without any resistance. Hit this with a hammer and the country will die. Boom! The torrent swallowed him up in the next moment. The screen went dark, and scarlet subtitles appeared the next moment. Open black lens bracket, you are dead. Close black lens bracket. Regarding this, Bai Yi had no fluctuation in his heart and even wanted to laugh a little. After picking up the coke next to him and taking a sip, Bai Yi grinned and swore. Damn, why is there even a bone dragon in this damn place? When he first entered the town and saw the undead, he thought that there might be a powerful undead monster in the town. Only in this way can the dark elves who were originally corpses be transformed into undead. But I never expected it to be a bone dragon. Although in many stories, the bone dragon belongs to the shame of the dragon clan. But you must know that this is compared to other dragons. The bone dragon is also a dragon, and there is no doubt about its strength. Such a monster, for the current Bai Yi, has a high probability that it will not be an opponent. In addition, there is a sea of undead in the entire town, so Bai Yi didn't even bother to resist just now. Just wait there to die. Continuing to fight is a waste of time and will lead to a dead end. Hey, speaking of it, it doesn't seem impossible that there is a bone dragon in the town. Suddenly, Bai Yi's eyes flashed, and he touched his chin with a thoughtful expression. I remember Kofi said that there is a dragon's nest in this dungeon, and it is a black dragon. Darkness falls, academics come, and even demons come here. Although the black dragon is powerful and not weak among all giant dragons, facing so many civilizations, if you don't leave, it will definitely be a dead end. If the black dragon died in the dungeon, it is very likely that the bone dragon in the dark elf town was it. It seems a bit different. The skeleton of the bone dragon was very small. It didn't look like an adult dragon, but rather resembled a young one. 903 This is also the reason why Bai Yi found it difficult before, but it does not mean that it cannot be defeated. It is just because of the sea of undead that there is no hope at all. The bone dragon may not be a black dragon. The bone dragon is too small and not as big as an adult dragon. But regardless of whether it is, it shows that the bone dragon should be the most powerful monster in the dark elf town. He is also the leader of all seas of the dead. Bai Yi came to a conclusion. This is actually good news. Because this is equivalent to knowing the level of the big boss in advance, and then just think of a way. There will always be a solution. As long as the bone dragon is solved, the remaining sea of undead is actually easy to deal with. At worst, if they die twice, they will all be wiped out sooner or later. Bai Yi continued to think deeply. He remembered that the direction the bone dragon was flying from was the castle in the town. The bone dragon can hover in the castle, which means that the dark elves that originally lived in the castle should be gone. I don't know if he escaped or died here. And giant dragons are greedy. Even if they turn into irrational bone dragons, their instinct will lead them to find treasures. This bone dragon is actually hovering in the castle, which means there is a high probability that there are good things in the castle. Bai Yi's eyes flickered, and the corners of his mouth raised an excited smile. This is good news again. I just don't know what the treasure is. Sealed succubus, or something else, he didn't know, but he was full of expectations. Next, we have to think of a way to solve the bone dragon. But this kind of thing cannot be rushed. Now that he is dead, Bai Yi simply clicks on the shelter and is ready to start building and transforming the shelter. It just so happened that he had basically collected all the materials for today. Greenhouse. Study. It can be built directly in one go. Of course, the most important thing is that the shelter can be transformed and then evolved. At that time, I can also make a contract with Mia, the tiger mother, and the tiger cubs, and view their information. So although the character in the game died today, he was really busy. Thinking of this, Bai Yi shook his head, opened his backpack, found the hot spring and study drawings inside, took them all out, Konge hot spring started, and ran, on the synthesis box. Then start putting in the materials. Sulfur, volcanic stone, goose worm stone and so on. There are also special materials. After Bai Yi thought for a while, he chose 4 Seasons wood and clicked build. There was a crash. A white light immediately appeared on the phone, illuminating the entire screen. When the light disappears, a prompt immediately popped up on the screen. The hot spring has been constructed. Close black lens bracket. A glimmer of light flashed in Bai Yi's eyes as he checked. Open black lens bracket spa. Close black lens bracket. Description. Special building of the shelter. Close black lens bracket. Entry 1. Relieve fatigue. Soaking in hot springs will relieve fatigue. Close black lens bracket. Entry 2. Soothing. Soaking in the hot spring will make the soul feel comfortable. Close black lens bracket. Entry 3. Wind of the 4 Seasons. Soaking in the hot spring, the elemental resistance will be permanently improved, and the degree of improvement is determined by the soaking time. Close black lens bracket. Winds of the 4 Seasons. Looking at the entry for hot springs, Bai Yi's eyes lit up with surprise. This entry is quite good. It can actually improve elemental resistance, but it probably requires a long period of accumulation. 17. This kind of improvement is obviously very low, and soaking in hot springs once or twice is of no use. Only by accumulating it for a long time can you reach a certain level and have resistance to the elements. However, there is no doubt that the effect of this entry is very useful. After all, elemental resistance is simply the resistance to various attributes. If the elemental resistance is strong enough, physical resistance to magic is not a problem. Of course, it will undoubtedly be a long process to increase elemental resistance to that level. That is to say, you can't enter the game now, otherwise Bai Yi would have to try it and see how it works. Hot springs have been positioned for enjoyment from the beginning. The 2 entries except 4 Seasons wind are related to this aspect, one to relieve fatigue and the other to relax. Tisk tisk, Bai Yi couldn't imagine how comfortable it would be to soak in it. And the scenery inside the hot spring is also very beautiful. Probably because of the incorporation of 4 season trees, there are 2 hot spring pools in the hot spring. One is a huge circular pool in the middle, and the other is the small 10-point water pool on the right. The 2 pools are separated by wooden boards and cannot see each other. Beside the pool, there is a cobblestone road. At the same time, trees are also erected as a landscape. These are all 4 season trees, changing colors with the halo, white in winter, red in autumn, green in spring, and orange in summer. They are very beautiful. When the renovation is carried out, Bai Yi will also connect the water purification filtration device here to create a separate circulation system. By then, the water in the hot spring will basically not need to be changed, it will be kept clean at all times. All in all, Bai Yi is very satisfied with this hot spring. Yes, next is the study room. Bai Yi nodded, picked up the drawings of the study room, and after using the synthesis box, began to put in the materials. The material of the study room must be century-old purple wood that is full of wisdom. Beyond that, it's a matter of books. As for books, research is better. Bai Yi murmured, there are quite a few books of this type in his hand. Mainly other books are smaller in quantity. After making the decision, Bai Yi invested everything in, plus other materials. After everything is done, click build. The light appeared on the phone screen again, making it impossible to see clearly what was going on in the shelter. Bai Yi raised the corners of his mouth and smiled. There was a hint of expectation in the smile. Looking forward to the construction of the study room. I look forward to the renovation and evolution of the shelter later. Suddenly, a soft touch came close to his cheek. Bai Yi turned around subconsciously and found that Mia had flown over at some point, landed on his shoulders and hugged his neck, blinking at him with bright eyes. What happened? Bai Yi asked funny ly. When he saw Mia like this, he knew that she must be asking for something. Mia said eagerly. Bai Yi, Mia wants something. Oh, what do you want? Fruit? No. Mia shook her head and said in anticipation. Mia wants a cell phone. Cell phone. Bai Yi raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but become confused. Why do you want this? Because Mia was watching TV and said that mobile phones are very powerful, there are many fun things, and you can watch Pleasant Goat anytime and anywhere. Mia said, holding Bai Yi and asking pitifully. Can Bai Yi buy one for Mia? Ha ha ha, yes, of course I can. Bai Yi laughed and nodded. I agreed without hesitation, not to mention that he himself planned to buy more mobile phones. Even if he had no such plan, who could say no to a cute elf like Mia? Bai Yi, you are so kind, Mia likes you. Quote, Mia screamed happily, and immediately hugged Bai Yi and kissed her wildly. Then he happily returned to the living room and continued watching TV. Seeing this, Bai Yi shook his head and laughed. Cell phone, forget it, come back tomorrow. Cell phones are still very important. Because modules can be fused. Although other ones can also be integrated, mobile phones are more convenient. Moreover, the extra mobile phones I bought are not for my own use, but are for other people in the shelter in the future. If you get extra modules in the future, you don't need to sell them to others, you can continue to integrate them into other mobile phones. For example, the trading module can be managed by specialized personnel to help you sell and buy some needed or unnecessary props, so that you don't have to spend time dealing with them yourself. Taking a deep breath, Bai Yi continued to look at the mobile phone. At this time, the light on the screen gradually dissipated. The study was successfully constructed. Close black lens bracket. Let me see the entry. Bai Yi raised the corner of his mouth and clicked on attributes. Open black lens bracket study. Close black lens bracket. Description. Special building of the shelter. Close black lens bracket. Entry 1. Acquisition of knowledge, easier to remember knowledge. Close black lens bracket. Entry 2. The gift of wisdom. When you concentrate on reading in the study room, you will gain a certain increase in wisdom. Close black lens bracket. Entry 3. The gift of wisdom. When reading attentively in the study room, there is a chance of a flash of inspiration. Close black lens bracket. In the study room, there is a red desk, several chairs, a tea table, and a row of sofas. There are rows of bookshelves on the wooden floor, like a small library, filled with books that were previously used as construction materials. Bai Yi looked at the information in the study, his eyes brightened slightly. These 3 entries are pretty good. The first one can remember the content. The second one can increase wisdom. The third one has a chance of having a flash of inspiration. 3 entries, it can be said that it perfectly fits the study room. If there are these 3 entries in the study room, any problems encountered in the future may be solved here. Not bad. Bai Yi nodded with satisfaction. Seeing that there were still many empty bookshelves in the study room, I put the books in my backpack on them, filling them all. After the construction of the study room was completed, there are now 5 special buildings in the shelter. Now, we can start to transform. Bai Yi murmured. This moment has been a long time coming. After preparing all the materials, Bai Yi took out the shelter modification drawings and used them on the synthesis box. A three-dimensional projection of the shelter scene from God's perspective appeared in front of him. Bai Yi's eyes flashed and he immediately started to transform. First of all, in terms of energy circuits, Bai Yi invested in materials and basically covered the entire shelter, leaving many excuses for future use in other buildings. Bai Yi also connected the energy interface to the watchtower, which can absorb the energy stored in the watchtower at any time. After the energy problem, Bai Yi connected water purification and filtration devices to many buildings. In short, the renovation of the shelter involves all aspects of the shelter. Even the floors, walls and ceilings were replaced. The walls have been replaced with marble, which looks more beautiful and luxurious. Of course, wooden boards are still used in some places, giving it a more atmospheric feel. All in all, it took Bai Yi a full 2 hours to complete this transformation. The materials collected previously were basically consumed. After everything was done, Bai Yi took a deep breath and clicked OK. Shelter renovation begins. Close black lens bracket. A prompt appeared on the screen, and then it lit up again. 3 times a day, Bai Yi was used to it, but because this time it was a renovation, which was different from the previous 2 constructions, Bai Yi still had an expectant smile on his face, and he even couldn't help but rub his hands. The transformation will not affect the level of the shelter, or improve the level of certain aspects. But a transformation will connect everything in the shelter into a whole. Like the previous watchtower, if it is not transformed, it can only be regarded as an external building of the shelter. This kind of building will not be included when the shelter is upgraded and evolved. But after the transformation, the connection is different. It can also upgrade and evolve together with the watchtower. Although this kind of upgrade and evolution will not change the ability of the special building itself, it can make its entry effect stronger. So transformation is very necessary. The transformation lasted longer this time. After waiting for almost a quarter of an hour, the light dissipated. At the same time, a completely new interior scene of the shelter also appeared in front of Bai Yi. At a glance, the marble walls and wood-grained floors shine warmly under the bright lights, complementing each other. In addition to this, plus some furniture and so on, the layout is almost the same as that of a modern luxury villa. Of course, the current furniture aspect is still far behind. Including a refrigerator or something, there is no such thing. But this does not hinder the interior decoration of the shelter, which has become very luxurious and gorgeous. Rooms, greenhouses, hot springs, study rooms, observation towers, etc. are all connected to electrical circuits. There is currently something lacking in terms of lighting. But it doesn't matter, it will be figured out later. When the time comes, I will have Yu Yi's help. Bai Yi can even imagine that all buildings in the entire shelter can become automated. Bai Yi is quite satisfied with this. After the shelter has been renovated, the natural next step is to evolve. There are not so many requirements for transformation. Just put in the materials directly. And Bai Yi has already prepared the required materials. Come to the core of the shelter, put in the materials, and click Evolve. Wow, the familiar light appears again. Bai Yi is a little tired of seeing it. I put down my phone and took a sip of Coke. After waiting for a while, the evolution of the shelter was completed. Open black lens bracket shelter. Close black lens bracket. Attribution. Bai Yi. Close black lens bracket. Shelter entry. Shelter will Yu Yi. Close black lens bracket. Size. 1000 square meters. Close black lens bracket. Number of upgrades. 3. Close black lens bracket. Number of evolutions. 1. Close black lens bracket. Seismic resistance level. 6. Close black lens bracket. Sound insulation level. 6. Close black lens bracket. Insulation level. 6. Close black lens bracket. Comfort level. 7. Close black lens bracket. Waterproof level. 4. Close black lens bracket. Special attribute. Soul fusion level. 2. Close black lens bracket. Layout. Core room X1, bedroom X3, living room X1, bathroom X1, energy room. Close black lens bracket. Special buildings. Observation tower, greenhouse, water purification filtration device, hot spring, study room. Close black lens bracket. Sure enough, we still have to evolve. Looking at the evolved attributes of the shelter, Bai Yi couldn't help but smile. All levels have basically been upgraded by 2 levels, and there is no improvement in defense. As for the comfort level, it should be due to the renovation, so it is 1 level higher than other levels. After evolution, there were a large number of open areas in the shelter. In addition, due to evolutionary reasons, the architectural layout in the shelter has become much more natural, and there is an additional energy room. The energy room is the source of electricity for the entire shelter and controls the switching power supply inside. When there is no electricity in the shelter, you can directly connect it to the power generation device inside, but in Bai Yi's opinion, it should not be needed for the time being. Because there is an energy groove inside, energy crystals can be put into it and converted into electricity. This is the benefit of renovation. Because of the renovation, you can only get a room like this after evolving. Of course, the most important thing is to get a special entry. Shuai Ling. Open black lens bracket wrongling. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Isolate all spirit body penetration, and when a spirit body forcibly penetrates, it will suffer a certain degree of counter-injury. If a spirit body dies nearby, it will automatically absorb the energy escaping from the spirit body and convert it into energy. Make reserves. Close black lens bracket. Ha ha ha. Sure enough, K-Ling Zan Jin is indeed much more powerful than the Juling stone. After Bai Yi checked the properties, he couldn't help laughing. If you use the Absolute Spirit Stone to evolve, you can also get special Absolute Spirit affixes. But he remembered the effect of the Absolute Spirit, which could only isolate the spirit body from entering the sanctuary. However, the melting spirit brought by Keling Xuanjin has a variety of effect attributes, and can even cause damage to the spirit body, and absorb the energy of the spirit body and convert it into energy. In this way, the shelter will be less likely to lack electricity in the future. Even because of the spirit fusion, an idea suddenly popped up in Bai Yi's mind. If there is a tool that can catch ghosts in the future, wouldn't it be possible to capture the ghosts near the shelter, kill them, and then charge the shelter? Don't tell me, it seems to work. He has fully experienced the benefits of rebirth. In his last life, it took him a month or 2 to finally evolve his shelter, and even if it evolved, it didn't have this attribute. But in this life, it only took me about 10 days. And he can continue to upgrade in the future. After darkness falls, his shelter may be able to evolve 2 or 3 times. Time flows, and night falls without knowing when. In the room, Bai Yi held his mobile phone, and as a ray of light appeared and then dispersed, Bai Yi opened the properties of the shelter to check it out. Open black lens bracket shelter. Close black lens bracket. Attribution. Bai Yi. Close black lens bracket. Shelter entry. Shelter will Yu Yi. Close black lens bracket. Size. 1,900 square meters. Close black lens bracket. Number of upgrades. 6. Close black lens bracket. Number of evolutions. 1. Close black lens bracket. Seismic resistance level. 9. Close black lens bracket. Sound insulation level. 9. Close black lens bracket. Insulation level. 9. Close black lens bracket. Comfort level. 8. Close black lens bracket. Waterproof level. 7.1. Special attributes. Soul fusion level. 5. Close black lens bracket. Layout. Core room X1, bedroom X6, living room X1, bathroom X1 energy room. Close black lens bracket. Special buildings. Observation tower, greenhouse, water purification filtration device, hot spring, study room. Close black lens bracket. About there, Bai Yi raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a smile. After a lot of trouble, the shelter was upgraded 3 more times. The materials obtained during this period were almost consumed. Although there was still a little left, it was definitely not enough for the next evolution. The shelter that evolves again requires 100,000 basic resources, including iron. But fortunately, he is not in a hurry just yet. He has not yet thought about the special materials for the evolution of the shelter this time, and it will not be too late to evolve it after he has figured it out. Next, he had to find a way to fill in the expanded area after the shelter was upgraded. It's not good to be too empty. But these will have to wait until later. Now that the matter at the shelter is over, Bai Yi is also ready to go out to buy some supplies. It just so happened that Mia just said she wanted a mobile phone and bought it too. Thinking of this, Bai Yi stretched his body and sat for a long time. His body, which was a little sore and numb, was comfortably released at this moment, and he couldn't help but moan happily. Phew, cool. After twisting his neck and moving his body, Bai Yi came to the living room and shouted to the tiger mother lying on the sofa. Tiger mom, I'm going out for a trip, remember to take care of your home. Ho, don't worry, the tiger mother replied casually to express her understanding. Hearing that Bai Yi was going out, Mia flew over excitedly and asked expectantly. Bai Yi, do you want to buy a mobile phone? Yes, you look so anxious. Do you want to go out with me? Is that okay? Mia's eyes suddenly lit up. No. Bai Yi refused 690 without hesitation. Joke. If you take Mia out, with Mia's temperament, she might fly around, and when ordinary people notice her, she will definitely get into trouble. You should just stay at home. All right. Mia immediately lowered her head in disappointment. But her purpose of looking for Bai Yi was not to go out, so she quickly raised her head and asked expectantly. Then Bai Yi, can you buy me a pink mobile phone? Mia likes pink. That's fine. Bai Yi nodded immediately and agreed. Mia immediately circled around Bai Yi happily. It looks so cute that I can't help but pick it up and put it on my face and just rub it. After Mia complained that she couldn't stand it anymore, she let her go, left the house, and walked towards a nearby mobile phone store. Phew, the weather is getting colder. As soon as he went out, Bai Yi subconsciously tightened his collar and looked up at the dim sky. Cool breeze. It seems to be like this a lot lately. Ordinary people cannot detect it and will not care. But in Bai Yi's opinion, this is obviously abnormal. I think it's because the darkness is approaching. He knew this in his last life, but he didn't pay attention to it in his last life. Looking back now, it is obvious that the earth has already given a reminder about darkness. He vaguely remembered that in the previous life, as the time of darkness gradually approached, the weather would become colder and colder, until darkness completely fell, and the first natural disaster also arrived. Extreme cold disaster. It lasted for a long time. That time, countless people froze to death in the cold night. Even he shivered several times in the cold night and almost lost consciousness. But this time, I won't suffer from the cold again. Bai Yi murmured. Shaking his head, he stopped thinking about it and walked towards the neighborhood. First, I went to a mobile phone store and bought almost 20 mobile phones for about 200,000 yuan. In the past, he couldn't afford it. But now, money is just waste paper in his eyes. Spend it as soon as possible while it is valuable, so that when darkness falls, you will not be able to find a place to use it and it will be too hard to wipe your butt. Don't tell me, it's really easy for rich people to pick up girls. After walking out of the mobile phone store, Bai Yi looked at the two female salespeople with affectionate expressions behind him and shook his head with emotion. After walking out for a while, I touched the two small notes in my backpack and threw them directly into the trash can. If he called, it would at least be a big fight tonight. But it's a pity that he is not interested in women wearing heavy makeup. Next, Bai Yi went to a nearby market, purchased a large amount of supplies, and had them delivered directly to his door. He himself held his mobile phone and walked home slowly. The night is dark. Probably because of the cold weather, there weren't many pedestrians on the streets. Walking alone on the street, Bai Yi's eyes were full of nostalgia. After a while, this bustling city scene will no longer be visible. When passing by a garden, Bai Yi stopped. Looking at the three well-dressed men wearing masks in front of them, the corner of his mouth twitched. Player. No respond. But he was determined. Just the players. And he also targeted himself. Is it another criminal organization? Bai Yi said lightly. I don't think I know you, right? I wonder what some of you want to do when you stop me. Haha, Mr. Bai, why do you ask knowingly? You have a lot of good things. One person said with a sneer, his eyes full of greed. The eyes of the other two people also showed fiery colors. Bai Yi is a big boss among the players who is famous in the Magic City. If the players don't know about it, it is impossible. And it is generally recognized that Bai Yi definitely has a lot of good things. After all, just look at the two trade fairs and you will know that every time something is presented, players will be shocked. In addition, most players know that killing other players can obtain the resources of the other players. Many players secretly fantasize about killing Bai Yi and becoming rich. It's just that most players know it well and know that this is impossible. After all, it is well known that Bai Yi possesses extraordinary power. Bai Yi also knew this, so after hearing what the three said, although he guessed it, he was also surprised. You should know that I have extraordinary power, right? Aren't you afraid? Hey, since we dared to come, we must be prepared. The man in the middle sneered and waved his hand. The next moment, the two people on the left and right rushed towards Bai Yi, and at the same time, a long knife appeared in their hands. Interesting. Bai Yi raised his eyebrows, keenly aware that the speed of the two of them was very fast. It was not something ordinary people could achieve, but they were probably not professionals either. They probably wore special equipment or were blessed with some kind of skill. Is this your confidence? Bai Yi murmured, turning around without hesitation and dodging the two attacks easily. Immediately afterwards, the last person suddenly took action, pulled out a pistol from his waist, and pointed it directly at Bai Yi. Bang! A bullet flew instantly. Buzz! Bai Yi's heart moved, and the absorption shield immediately enveloped him, blocking the bullet. As expected of a famous boss, but unfortunately you are dead today, ha ha ha, kill him. The man who fired the gun laughed loudly, and then his voice suddenly turned cold. The moment the words fell, a cold breath suddenly approached from behind. Immediately afterwards, a banging sound sounded, as if something hit the shield. At the same time, there were surprised voices from several people around. How can it be? Bai Yi looked back, his expression suddenly clear. I see, this is your confidence. The three-headed evil ghosts were wailing behind them, making harsh sounds, and constantly attacking the absorption shield. In addition to these three evil spirits, there was also a man walking out of the grass in the park, holding a stuffed doll to play with. I guess it was the three-headed evil spirit summoned by that thing. There are 4 people in total. 3 people openly attracted my attention. A man is holding extraordinary props and attacking from behind. Snap, snap, snap. Bai Yi clapped his hands and said with a smile on his face. I have to say that your plan is quite good, but unfortunately, isn't it good to live a good life? Why do you have to come and die? Hearing this, several people subconsciously took a step back. Compared to before, their eyes now showed panic. Originally, they were indeed confident. After all, they got an extraordinary item and summoned 3 evil spirits at once. It's just that at the moment when this evil doll came into being, their idea was not to explore, but to target Bai Yi, wanting to use this doll as a fatal blow to kill him. After all, as long as they succeed, they will become rich and take off from there. Even detailed plans were made for this. It can be said that they had enough faith to kill Bai Yi before they came. Even if Bai Yi has extraordinary power, there is a high probability that he will die at their hands. But why? Why can't even evil spirits break through his defenses? Several people couldn't understand, but perhaps because he felt the killing intent coming from Bai Yi, fear couldn't help but spread in his heart. Even extraordinary props can't cause harm, so if they stay here, isn't it a dead end? Run! The man with the gun spoke without hesitation, turned around and ran towards the distance. Seeing this, the other 3 people turned around and fled into the distance without hesitation, and they all ran in different directions. It can be seen that even the retreat has been planned. But unfortunately, they met Bai Yi. Want to leave? It's just a dream. Bai Yi sneered, raised his finger and pointed in 2 directions. The sacred flames suddenly turned into fireballs like glass beads and shot out at the fingertips. Ah! 2 screams suddenly sounded. They were the first 2 people to attack Bai Yi, and they were hit by the fireball in an instant. Under the blazing high temperature, it turned directly into ashes. The voice of their companion made the other 2 people tremble in their hearts, and they even ran towards the distance desperately. But unfortunately, Bai Yi looked in the direction of the man holding the gun, took a step forward, and performed shadow shuttle. The figure immediately disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he had already arrived in front of the man. This scene made the man's eyes widen and his pupils shrink. How can this be? He exclaimed subconsciously, his tone full of shock. Bai Yi was obviously far behind him before, but now he appeared in front of him out of thin air. What is this? Teleport. But why have I never heard of Bai Yi having this ability before? Go to hell for me. He roared and fired without hesitation. No matter what, he didn't want to die. As long as he escaped and relied on the game, he would still have a bright future. Bullets were shot towards Bai Yi one by one. In response, Bai Yi looked calm and did not make any evasive movements. He just used the absorbing shield and allowed the bullets to hit, but it only caused the slightest ripples on the shield. It won't hurt him at all. This scene made the man feel a trace of regret in his heart. If he had known that Bai Yi had such terrifying power, he would never have come. I was wrong, Mr. Bai, let me go, I don't want to die, I really don't want to die. His legs went weak and he couldn't help but kneel in front of Bai Yi and cry and beg. Bai Yi didn't reply, but with a thought in his heart, the soul-eating hand was suddenly displayed, and he swung forward suddenly, and a soul was pulled out, struggling continuously in the soul-eating hand. However, the next moment, the huge ghost claw suddenly exerted force. Bang! The soul is instantly shattered. Scenes appeared in my mind out of thin air. Bai Yi's eyes flickered, showing a thoughtful expression. These guys are really quite extraordinary. But let's deal with the other guy as soon as possible. The words fell. He turned to look in the direction where the last person left, and used his shadow to escape. At the same time, the last person was still running wildly, and after a long time, he stopped. When he saw the deserted street behind him, he couldn't help but have an ecstatic smile on his face. Ha ha ha, you didn't come after me, I survived, ha ha ha. Although the accomplice died, but if you die, just die. As long as he survives anyway. A dead Taoist friend is not a poor Taoist. You seem happy. Suddenly, a voice suddenly sounded from behind. Who? He suddenly looked back, his pupils suddenly contracted, and a look of fear appeared in his eyes. He saw a ghost claw heading towards him. There was no time to resist. He immediately lost consciousness and his soul was pulled out of his body. Bai Yi snorted coldly, and with a thought, the man's soul was crushed directly. There were many memories in his mind again. After accepting everything, Bai Yi looked coldly and murmured a name. Bloody cult. I just said, why would any player target me? A coldness flashed in Bai Yi's eyes. With his strength, it's hard to say nationwide. But at least in the Magic City, it is impossible for ordinary players to take action against him. Although these people are not ordinary players, because they have blood on their hands, they are former fugitives. But he had no intention of taking action against Bai Yi at first. He is still well known in the player circle of Magic City. Although fame is sometimes troublesome, it is also a deterrent. The main reason why these players later chose to attack Bai Yi was because of the Blood Sect. A cult that was notorious in the previous life. Like the Dawn organization, they believe in evil gods, but there are some differences. The Dawn organization is for its own benefit. The Bloody Sect is entirely for the benefit of the evil god. In the memories of the two men, Bai Yi saw a figure in blood robe, which is the costume of the Bloody Sect. In addition, they also saw the member of the Bloody Sect trying to induce them. This is a hidden memory. Even the people killed by Bai Yi have forgotten. It should be an ability similar to hypnosis, related to the mind. Bai Yi's eyes flickered. I roughly surmised that this was because the Bloody Sect was targeting me, but was unable to confirm my strength, thus allowing others to test me. Through special power, it guided the thoughts of those people just now and changed their original purpose. Even in his memory, Bai Yi saw evil dolls from the Blood Sect. It's just that those people thought they got it from the game. Thinking of this, Bai Yi looked around, his eyes flickering. Since you are here to test me, then the people from the Bloody Sect should also be nearby. After all, the people of the Blood Sect also want to see the results of the temptation. The most suitable place for observation and easy to hide is. Bai Yi suddenly raised his head, looked at the top of a tall building in the distance, and immediately grinned. I found you. There, a bloody figure stared at this side. As if aware of Bai Yi's gaze, the figure turned and left without hesitation. But how can it compare with Bai Yi's speed? Shadow's shuttle. Bai Yi took one step forward and was in front of him in an instant, stopping him. The people of the Bloody Sect didn't panic at all, they just took 2 steps back, raised a smile at the corner of their mouth, and said with a smile. He is indeed one of the strongest players in the Magic City. He is indeed amazing. I originally thought that with the evil ghost doll, I could cause some trouble to you, but I didn't expect that it would have no effect at all. Hearing this, Bai Yi looked at the man in blood robe in front of him and sneered. You can still laugh without fear of death. Die. A look of madness flashed in his eyes, and he couldn't help laughing. Death only allows me to return to the embrace of my God. Why should I fear death? I should have left a long time ago, but you are very strong, so I stayed because I thought you should be invited. Invite. Bai Yi's eyes flickered, and then he said sarcastically. You don't want me to join you, do you? That's right. The people of the bloody sect opened their arms and spoke piously. The gods I believe in are great beings that you can't understand. With your strength, as long as you join us and believe in our God, you will definitely receive the great power bestowed by our God. When the time comes, your power will be even stronger. Beauty, power, everything you want is at your fingertips. How? He is seductive, and his voice seems to be filled with magic, making people obsessed. Not really. Bai Yi looked calm and responded without hesitation. Seeing that Bai Yi's eyes were still clear, he couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, you are different from those ordinary players. Hearing this, Bai Yi didn't refute, just smiled jokingly. Have you had enough of these little tricks? Then I'll send you on your way. The words just now are indeed guiding some power in Bai Yi's mind, but unfortunately Bai Yi's mind is much stronger than his, so it is completely useless to Bai Yi. At most it's equivalent to being bitten by an ant. But Bai Yi was too lazy to talk nonsense. The moment he finished speaking, the staff appeared in Bai Yi's hand, and he was ready to kill the cultists in front of him with a single wave. However, before the spell was released, the blood sect member took a step back and showed him a bright smile. Ha ha ha, I don't need you anymore, I'd better do it by myself. I can't wait to see my God. After saying that, blood appeared densely on his body. Bai Yi hurriedly gathered his soul-eating hand and grabbed it. But it was too late. With a bang, the man's body turned into blood mist and exploded, then rained down like blood. There seemed to be passers-by passing by below, and they suddenly became angry. Tisk, bad luck. Bai Yi didn't pay attention to this. He just looked at the position of the blood sect people before, couldn't help but cursed secretly, and immediately took out his mobile phone. No matter what, if someone died in his own hands today, he still had to report it to the authorities. In addition, the affairs of the bloody sect must be left to the authorities. This sect did not expect to appear so quickly. In the previous life, it became famous much later than the Dawn organization. After the call was made, it was quickly connected. Immediately afterwards, Ni Meng's voice came from inside. Hello, Bai Yi. Captain Ni, are you busy? Just call me Ni Meng. I just got home. What's wrong? Ni Meng's voice on the phone was filled with doubts. It was so late, and Bai Yi wouldn't call her for ordinary things. A phone call is no ordinary thing. Bai Yi didn't hide anything and told the truth about what just happened. The four ordinary players in front were fine, and they only made Ni Meng look solemn, but when she heard the words, bloody sect, she couldn't help but exclaim. What? You said you met someone from the blood sect? Are you still in the magic city? Huh. This reaction, Bai Yi asked with a flash of his eyes. You know. Of course I know, Ni Meng said in a serious tone. This is a sect that has recently appeared abroad after the game appeared. It is not very powerful, but it has done a lot of outrageous things. There was a blood sacrifice among them, which resulted in the death of more than 500 people in a small town. It's just that the news was suppressed by some foreign countries. Although we got the news here, because it was a foreign force, we just backed up the files and didn't pay too much attention to it. In the end, I didn't expect these guys to actually come to Daxia, let alone sneak into the demon city. Ni Meng felt a headache for a while. This kind of cult organization is not easy to deal with. Because this is a cult organization based on the game, it has extraordinary power. The most important thing is that this kind of cult is really fanatical and is not afraid of death. Once they are cornered, there is no telling what kind of damage they will cause. But it was useless to ignore it. Ni Meng quickly cheered up and took a deep breath. No matter what, I still want to thank you for telling me the news. I will report it immediately and investigate the bloody sect. In addition, the information you provided is also very useful. No wonder this organization is so rampant abroad. I didn't expect it to have the power to influence people's minds. The more Ni Meng thought about it, the more he felt that the threat of this cult was very serious and that the top management must be notified immediately. Otherwise, once it is allowed to take root in Daxia, it will undoubtedly be a huge disaster. Listening to Nimeng's solemn tone on the phone, Baiyi's mouth twitched slightly and nodded. Okay, as long as it helps you, I'll hang up now and talk to you another day. Goodbye. Toot toot. The phone hangs up. Baiyi looked at the phone with a strange expression. The bloody sect was born so early, but it appeared later than the Dawn organization in its previous life. Could it be that it was also targeted by the authorities? He also suddenly came up with this speculation. After all, the bloody organization was born so early, but after darkness fell, it appeared later than the Dawn organization. This is obviously not normal. There is a high probability that it will be targeted by various countries, and then it will survive until darkness falls and then be resurrected. And Baiyi thinks this probability is quite high. After all, Baiyi himself didn't care much about the bloody sect. After all, he was alone. But official organizations are different. It's just a cult. There have been cults in various countries around the world before, but those cults only relied on pyramid schemes to recruit people. The bloody sect is different. It can directly use extraordinary power to influence people's minds. Is this even possible? If this is not done well, there will even be people from the other side within ourselves. It's okay if you don't know. Once you know, you will definitely attack hard. The reason why Baiyi felt weird was that these two organizations had nothing to do with him in his previous life. Unexpectedly, after rebirth, they would all have a relationship with themselves. The Dawn organization has been completely extinct due to its own reasons. He began to look forward to the fate of the bloody sect. Forget it, no matter what, just don't mess with me. Baiyi shook his head, looked at the time getting later and later, didn't bother to think about it anymore, put away his phone and prepared to leave. This time it was mainly the bloody sect testing itself. If you find that your strength is average after testing, you may take action against yourself. But after realizing that their strength is strong enough, as long as the bloody sect is smart enough, they will not come to trouble them again in a short time. After all, no matter how many people come, they will only die. In addition, the authorities were about to take action, and he estimated that he might not encounter anyone from the bloody sect again, at least until darkness fell. Magic City. In a private house, two corpses were lying on the ground, each one chopped to death. Standing next to them were a group of figures in blood robes, seemingly waiting for something. Suddenly, a figure staggered and fell directly to the ground. Seeing this, other people hurriedly gathered around. What's wrong? What happened? He covered his head and stood up, pushing away the people around him, with a look of pain on his face, and gritted his teeth. Li Chang's life breath has disappeared, and he probably died in Baiyi's hands. His strength is stronger than we imagined. 0.00. Hearing this, the expressions of other people around him changed slightly. What should we do? No way, we have to leave. Leave? Are you kidding me? We just got here. Then leave too. He covered his head and said in a deep voice. Don't you still want to take revenge? Don't think about it. We don't have that ability now. If Li Chang can die in his hands, it means that our ability is useless to him. If we go there, we will just return to our god like Li Chang. Embrace. Although I don't mind doing that, don't forget, we're not done yet. My god's mission. And according to the investigation information, the person named Baiyi is not far from the official news. Since Li Chang is dead, it means that we have been exposed, and Daxia officials will know about our arrival. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to leave even if we want to when the officials start making arrangements. Hearing this, the others gritted their teeth and showed unwilling expressions on their faces, but they could only nod in agreement. After a while, this group of people left here. At the same time, the other side, Nimeng quickly set off from home, went to the night watchman base, and went directly to Wang Zhengguo's office to report back the news obtained from Baiyi. Boom! Hearing Nimeng's words, Wang Zhengguo couldn't help but punch the table with his fist, looking furious. Bloody cult! A bunch of rats in the gutter, who gave them the courage to come to our country? Don't rest tonight. Let's notify them and ask all the teams to dispatch. Then notify the Yamen and ask them to cooperate. They will search the whole city overnight and block all the roads out. Quote, I want to make sure they never come back. Yes. Ni Meng immediately took the order and took action. Wang Zhengguo didn't waste any time. He picked up the phone next to him and began to report the news to the superior. Due to the special nature of the bloody sect, as Bai Yi guessed, the top departments attach great importance to this kind of organization that has the power to control people's minds. After receiving the news, later, an order was issued directly to all night watch branches nationwide. Only one word: kill. Don't arrest, just kill. This kind of organization has no need to capture alive. Kill if found. For a time, all the night watchmen in Daxia became busy, and even mobilized the power of most of the yamen. Of course, Bai Yi didn't know about this. At this time, Bai Yi had just returned home and handed a pink mobile phone to Mia. Wow, what a beautiful phone. Mia likes it so much. I love you so much, Bai Yi. Mia held her mobile phone with a happy smile on her face. As long as you like it, just take it and charge it yourself. Bai Yi smiled and touched Mia's head, then returned to the room, eagerly took out his phone and clicked on the game. Suddenly, the resource rewards obtained from the players who had just been killed and the Blood Sect members all appeared on the screen. You obtained Wood X 600 and Stone X 1000. Close black lens bracket. You have obtained the core of the sanctuary. Close black lens bracket. You obtained Wood X 300, Iron X 100, and Stone X 500. Close black lens bracket. You obtained the evil doll damaged. Close black lens bracket. Quote question mark quote. Are you kidding me? So poor. There are 4 people. Is it true that all your body and mind combined together can't collect 10,000 basic resources? Don't say 10,000. Not even 5,000. The thief had to cry when he saw it, and the mouse had to give him a few grains of rice when he saw it. No, isn't there another person from the blood sect? Why don't resources drop from this person? Bai Yi remembered that there was a missing reminder and couldn't help showing doubts. After thinking for a while, he murmured, is it because of suicide? After all, the member of the bloody sect died because of him, and he really didn't die by his own hands. Thinking of this, Bai Yi's mouth twitched and he immediately regretted it. If I had known, I would have stopped talking nonsense and killed him directly. This way you can also get the resources from that guy. After all, he is a cult member, and he may have some weird features on his body, which are suitable for synthesis of props. But he didn't expect that the guy would commit suicide without any hesitation and without any fear. It can only be said that he is a cultist after all. Remember, next time there are enemies, kill them directly to avoid missing out on a lot of resources. Bai Yi murmured and opened his backpack. Although the 4 people were poor, they still dropped a core of the shelter. After they came to the core room and used it, the scope of the shelter suddenly increased by 200 square meters. The growth range of 937 increases according to the size of the opponent's shelter. It can only be said that the opponent's shelter has not been upgraded much, so the scope of growth is not large, but it is better than nothing. Apart from that, the only thing of value is an evil ghost doll, but unfortunately it is a damaged version. Open black lens bracket evil doll. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. A magic prop made by a necromancer. 3 evil ghosts are sealed in it. Tear the doll to release the evil ghosts and make them obey your orders, but it can only be used once. After use, it will be damaged. Close black lens bracket. Current status. Damaged. Close black lens bracket. 2 words. Rubbish. Monsters like spirits can only target ordinary people without special powers. As long as there is some extraordinary power, it is really easy to deal with the spirit monster, unless it is the kind of spirit that undergoes qualitative change, but it does not matter whether the spirit monster of that level is a spirit or not. Therefore, even if the evil doll is not damaged after several times, it is just average in Bai Yi's eyes. Once it's damaged, it's just like the junk picked up in the game. And now it seems that there is no value in even synthesis. After all the evil spirits that were originally sealed inside have dissipated, and there are no special effects attached to it. It is just like an ordinary doll contaminated with some yin qi. After a few glances, Bai Yi withdrew his gaze, touched his belly, and started to prepare dinner. He didn't use many of the synthesis times today. After finishing his work and having dinner, Bai Yi returned to the room to prepare for synthesis. The first one is naturally the dragon scale. This thing is a good thing, and it is also a black dragon scale. Black dragon scales. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. This is a scale dropped from a black dragon. It is very hard and has good resistance to magic. If the number of scales is enough, it will be a good equipment material. Close black lens bracket. The black dragon itself is highly resistant to magic, mainly relying on its scales. Therefore, there is no doubt that the synthesis plan of this dragon scale is to synthesize it with the demon faller leather armor he is wearing. This is used to increase the defense of the equipment. Just do it when you think of it. Bai Yi doesn't waste time. He opens his backpack, finds the items to be synthesized, selects them, and clicks to synthesize them. With a bang, light emerged. 2 items combined into one. The light dissipated, and the synthesis prompt also appeared on the screen. Synthesis successful. Close black lens bracket. You have obtained the black scale armor. Close black lens bracket. Black scale armor. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. A piece of leather armor that is extremely excellent in magic defense. It is blended with precious materials such as mithril and black dragon scales, making it a treasure in the eyes of warriors. After equipping it, it will gain 1% elemental resistance. Close black lens bracket. Haha, it's really good. Seeing the introduction, Bai Yi suddenly showed a smile on his face. 10% elemental resistance seems average, but is actually extremely high. After all, it is elemental resistance, which means that all magic attributes can be reduced. As a result, his defense power has been greatly increased. It's a pity that I still haven't acquired the skills. It seems like we have to find some special materials to synthesize it next time. Bai Yi murmured and re-equipped it. Don't tell me, he is more handsome than before. The black leather armor makes people look mysterious. This equipment is most suitable for warriors, but Bai Yi is a magician. But who prevented him from getting the robe? Otherwise, if he had a robe, he wouldn't mind replacing it. After all, equipment suitable for warriors can improve defense. But the effect of a robe suitable for a mage must be related to magic. Either to enhance the power of magic or to reduce the consumption of magic. His eyes fell on the open backpack on the screen. There was a look of thought in Bai Yi's eyes, and then he chose the seeds of moonlight grass. With the heart of the sorrower and the black scale armor he just obtained, he only had 3 synthesis times left today. However, there are currently no props that must be synthesized. For example, lich heart is a good synthetic material, but there is no matching one. So the current synthesis depends entirely on Bai Yi's wishes. In fact, he can use it to synthesize equipment to enhance his combat power, such as the surging ring he just got today. Or it can be used to synthesize skills, such as the magic sword obtained before. But after some thinking, Bai Yi still wanted to use it for some tentative synthesis. After all, in terms of combat power, he is not in a hurry at the moment. Even if he has to face the bone dragon tomorrow, it's not that he can't defeat the bone dragon, it's just that the sea of undead is too troublesome. If there is no sea of undead, he is quite confident that he can win the bone dragon. But it doesn't matter, he already has an idea and will talk about it tomorrow. Now, mainly synthetic. Moonlight grass seed plus moonlight grass seed. Click compose. Synthesis successful. Close black lens bracket. You have obtained the moonlight tree seed. Close black lens bracket. Moonlight tree. Good guy, it changed directly from grass to tree, right? Bai Yi pursed his lips and opened the message to check. Open black lens bracket moonlight tree seeds. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Moonlight tree seeds, if planted and allowed to grow, can produce moonlight fruit. It is rumored that it is the favorite fruit of elves. Moonlight water flows in the fruit. It tastes sweet and has the effect of making people concentrate, whitening and beautifying. Close black lens bracket. This effect. Bai Yi opened his mouth but was speechless for a moment. How to say, it can be considered a success. This should be considered an extraordinary plant. But it should be the lowest level. And the effect is a bit strange. You might say it's useless, but that's not the case. Is it useful? Not really. After all, you can concentrate carefully, right? It can also beautify your skin. But for Bai Yi, it's quite tasteless. After all, he doesn't have much demand for this thing. Of course, there must be value. Bai Yi is a man after all, he doesn't need it, women do. I believe no one can resist the fruit of beauty in beauty. And as an extraordinary plant, since it is clearly told that it has this effect, it means that this effect will be very strong, and it is probably the kind that will take effect quickly if you eat it. So Bai Yi hesitated and called Kaya. Mia flew over quickly, with a smile on her face. She was obviously happy because she got the mobile phone. Bai Yi had heard the sound of this guy playing games before. It seems that through mobile phones, the door to a new world has been opened. This made Bai Yi feel a little worried, and he didn't know whether this little guy would become an internet-addicted girl in the future. Bai Yi, what's the matter with you calling me? Mia flew in front of Bai Yi and landed on Bai Yi's shoulders. Her 2 white and tender feet were dangling, which was very eye-catching. After Bai Yi glanced at it, he took out the seeds of the moonlight tree and handed them to her. Ah, moonlight tree seeds. As soon as she took the seed, Mia recognized it and her eyes suddenly brightened. You know, of course, Kai likes to eat moon fruits the most. Mia nodded. Bai Yi suddenly realized that he almost forgot that this moonlight fruit was the elf's favorite. Mia is also a flower elf, so she should be very familiar with the moonlight tree. It's good that you know. I've given you the seeds. You'll have to plant them tomorrow. Do you know how to plant them? Hee, don't worry, leave Bai Yi to Mia, Mia knows how to plant. Mia put away the seeds, patted her chest with her little hands to reassure herself, raised her chin slightly, and looked confident. As long as you know, I'll leave it to you anyway. HMPH, leave it to Mia, Bai Yi can rest assured, Mia is a master in this field. Haha, that's right, you are a master, go play your game. Yeah, goodbye Bai Yi. Bai Yi smiled and didn't bother the little guy, and let her leave with a wave. The little guy immediately left quickly to play games. After all, the moonlight tree was the first extraordinary plant synthesized, and Bai Yi didn't think about continuing to synthesize it. Instead, it is planned to be planted, and when it bears fruit, it can be used to trade with some women. Now that there is a trading module, considering the store function inside, Bai Yi also has to prepare and advance the unique items in his store in the future. Moonshine fruit is very good. Enough to give him a stable group of female customers. Women make good money. This is no exception in the world after darkness falls. Next, Bai Yi continued to synthesize. This time, Bai Yi chose 2 mithril. He has always wanted to try it, but he didn't have many synthesis times to use it before. Now that he has it, he can give it a try. Open black lens bracket mithril plus mithril close black lens bracket. Click compose. Rubbing his hands, under Bai Yi's expectant gaze, a synthetic light appeared on the screen. Soon, an agreement will be reached. A prompt appeared on the phone screen. Synthesis successful. Close black lens bracket. You have obtained the forbidden magic stone. Close black lens bracket. FK. Bai Yi looked surprised, and then he couldn't help but open his mouth. He immediately opened his backpack and found the synthesized forbidden magic stone. He couldn't help but smile with joy on his face. Mithril and mithril were synthesized. I didn't expect that the result would be the forbidden demon stone, ha ha ha. Bai Yi knew this kind of ore in his previous life. This one, she also thought about getting it, but he didn't expect that it could be synthesized using mithril. Forbidden demon stone. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Special ores hidden deep in the earth can only be found in very few areas. The forbidden demon stone is an ore that has a strong suppressive effect on magic. Wherever the forbidden demon stone is located, the magic power will be difficult to circulate. In the past, many empires used forbidden magic stones to build cities, and these cities also became the nightmare of mages. Close black lens bracket. Just by looking at the name, you know this is good stuff. It is the same as mithril but different. The reason is simple. Because mithril can be used to build equipment, but forbidden magic stone can only be used for construction. Of course, both can be used if special materials are needed for special buildings in the shelter. In short, both mithril and forbidden demon stone are aimed at mages. Mithril increases magic resistance. The demon forbidden stone directly bans demons. Of course, for 2.6, a forbidden demon stone is nothing, but if the number increases, it will be terrifying. Because it will suppress the magic power and prevent the magic power from flowing, this is equivalent to making the mage unable to release magic. And once the magic is close to the forbidden magic stone building, it may dissipate on the spot due to the excessive number of forbidden magic stones. This shows how powerful the forbidden demon stone is. This is an ore that is very suitable for building structures. This is also the reason why Bai Yi is happy. As a mage, he knows only too well how easy it is for a powerful mage to break open a shelter. After a few spells, no matter how strong the door is, it will be blasted open. But with the forbidden magic stone, haha, if the mage dares to come, it means he dares to die. I didn't know what to use as the material for the shelter's next evolution. I didn't expect the surprise to come so softly. What could be more suitable as an evolutionary material than the forbidden magic stone? And don't forget, he also has synthetic hands. In the eyes of many generals, the forbidden magic stone cannot be used to forge equipment at all. At most, it can sometimes be used to forge shields and a little powder can be added into it. But my synthesis hand can be used to synthesize any item, and the forbidden magic stone can also be used to forge equipment. Not only equipment, but also skills. Bai Yi's eyes were bright, and in an instant, he had a strong idea. What will be the effect if the forbidden demon stone is combined with fixation? A forbidden demon in a prison. If this succeeds, hiss. Bai Yi had a look of expectation on his face and acted quickly. Bai Yi clicked on the attributes and found the fixation in the skill. This is an exclusive skill brought by the Shadowcaster profession. It is a rare control skill. It is very strong, but its effect is only for a single target, so sometimes it is not very effective. Of course, it can work wonders when facing some powerful enemies alone. Therefore, Bai Yi's expectations for this skill are still very high. With anticipation, Bai Yi clicked, selected as a synthesis, and then selected the newly synthesized Forbidden Magic Stone. Forbidden Demon Stone plus Fixation. Click Compose. A soft light appeared on the screen, the two came together, and then a prompt popped up. Synthesis successful. Close black lens bracket. You have gained a new skill, Spear of Forbidden Law. Close black lens bracket. Forbidden Law. I like this name. When he heard the name of the synthesized skill, Bai Yi's eyes lit up and he quickly checked the effect. Spear of Forbidden Law. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Once the projection spear condensed with magic power hits the enemy, it can imprison the enemy. The imprisoning time is determined by its own level. If the enemy hit contains magic power, the imprisonment effect will be enhanced by 100%, and during the imprisonment period, the magic resistance will be reduced by 5%. Close black lens bracket. Oh my god, is this skill so effective? The moment he saw the skill introduction, Bai Yi couldn't help but widen his eyes. While looking shocked, a look of ecstasy could not help appearing on his face. The effect of this skill was simply more powerful than he expected. Not only does it have the effect of the previous fixation itself, but it is also greatly enhanced and can last for a long time. If the opponent's level is lower than yours, doesn't it mean that you can imprison him forever as long as you want? Of course, this probably depends on whether the magic power is enough. But in addition, there is also a powerful increase brought by synthesizing the Forbidden Magic Stone, which can directly double the duration of the imprisonment effect on enemies with magical powers. This is the scariest thing. You must know that in the Dark Land, countless creatures have magic power. Those without magical power are very rare. Even if some polluted and corrupted monsters become weird, the magic power in their bodies will not disappear and will still exist. It is no exaggeration to say that as long as they are not humanoid monsters, 80% of them have magic power in their bodies. It is in human form, and basically has about 70% of the magic power in its body. It is no exaggeration to say that this skill will have its effect doubled for part of the time. In addition, once you hit an enemy with magic in your body, not only will the imprisonment time be doubled, but the enemy's magic resistance will also be reduced by 50%. He is a mage. The lower the enemy's magic resistance, the higher the damage caused. Bai Yi was so excited that he even wanted to look up to the sky and scream. This is simply a magical skill. Real magic, no kidding. With this skill in hand, if Bai Yi's confidence in defeating the Bone Dragon was 4 points before, then it suddenly increased to 7 points. This shows how powerful this skill is. This last number of synthesis was indeed used correctly. Bai Yi raised the corners of his mouth, showing an excited smile. That is to say, some skills are not suitable, otherwise Bai Yi really wants to synthesize all the skills so that other skills can have similar effects. At that time, any dark monsters will be rotten fish and shrimps, and they will be killed indiscriminately. When all the mages saw him, they probably had to turn around and leave. He is the mage killer, with a real one in front. Call. Bai Yi took a deep breath, calmed down his inner excitement, and gradually calmed down. But he still had a smile on his face. Hee, with this skill in hand, it's not like I can't go meet that skull dragon for a while tomorrow. Just after he finished speaking, Bai Yi shook his head again. Forget it, let's do another thing. Anyway, with this skill, the bone dragon can be solved at any time. In comparison, there is another thing that is more important. Thinking of this, Bai Yi raised the corner of his mouth, stood up, played a small tune, and walked towards the bathroom with a change of clothes. He couldn't wait to get ready for bed and face the new day. Time passed, and the night passed in the blink of an eye. The next day, 6 o'clock in the morning. The sky outside the window was gray, and the whistling wind kept passing by, making people feel a little chilly. Bai Yi subconsciously tightened the quilt and completely wrapped his body. Mia in her arms was lying on Bai Yi's neck with her big letters spread out. Her sleeping appearance was very unladylike, and she made inexplicable mutterings because of Bai Yi's movements. The tiger cub, on the other hand, curled up under the tiger mother's hair and purred warmly, like an engine sounding. Well, drowsily, Bai Yi felt his nose itching, slowly opened his eyes, and yawned subconsciously. After touching his nose, Bai Yi realized that Mia's hair had involuntarily brushed his nose. Looking at the little guy's sleeping position, Bai Yi smiled helplessly, straightened it up, covered it with a quilt, then picked up his phone and checked the time. It's a bit early, Bai Yi murmured secretly, feeling a cold wind coming, and shrank back, frowning and looking out the window. The weather is getting colder. I don't know what will happen next. Weather like this shows that the darkness is getting closer. Although he is a reborn person, after the darkness falls, he will be his home, because with the memory of his previous life, he can know before anyone else what opportunities there are around the demon city after the darkness falls. But he didn't know much about what happened before darkness fell. After all, he was not a player in his last life. It was like being raided by the Dawn organization during the first market. If he were a player, he would have noticed it long ago. Just because it wasn't, I suddenly realized it afterwards. Therefore, he didn't know whether there would be some games related to players but not aimed at ordinary people in the coming time. Fortunately, his strong strength made him feel safe and not uneasy. It's just a bit of nervousness about the unknown. After twisting his body and sitting up in a comfortable position, Bai Yi picked up his mobile phone and prepared to play games for a while. There's no rush for washing or anything. Tiger Mother and the others were still sleeping, and it would probably take a while before they woke up. Plus, it was getting cold and he didn't want to get up right away. It was better to enter the game first and control the character to run to the dungeon. Perhaps the movement woke Mia up, causing her to wake up in a daze, rub her eyes, and look cute. Bai Yi, is it dawn yet? No, you can continue to sleep for a while. Well, I don't want to sleep anymore, Bai Yi wants to play a game. Mia asked curiously, blinking her bright eyes. Yeah, what's wrong? I want to watch Bai Yi play games. Then come here and lie down. Bai Yi smiled and patted his belly. By the way, please keep your voice down, Tiger Mother and the others are still sleeping. Yeah, Mia will do it gently. Mia lowered her voice and happily ran to lie on Bai Yi's belly. Her posture looked like an old married father sitting in front of the computer with his son to play games. After touching Mia's little head, Bai Yi clicked on the game. The screen went black and then the shelter screen appeared. Owner, Yu Yi appeared immediately as before and greeted Bai Yi. Then I saw Mia again and said hello. Sister Yue, good morning. Mia did not forget Bai Yi's reminder. Her voice was still small. When it got a little louder, she couldn't help but cover her mouth for fear of waking up the Tiger Mother. When he saw that the Tiger Mother didn't wake up, he looked relieved. Good morning, by the way. Bai Yi responded with a smile. Instead of rushing to control the character to leave, he asked Mia to plant the seeds of the moonlight tree first. The greenhouse has been built for so long, and it's time to put it to use. It took some time, and after Mia finished planting, she came back and lay on Bai Yi's belly. Next, Bai Yi said goodbye to Yu Yi, controlled the character to leave the shelter, and went straight to the entrance of the dungeon. We encountered some monsters on the way, but they were easily dealt with. It took him half an hour to enter the dungeon and move on, arriving at the ruins of the Snake Man. But this time, Bai Yi did not run towards the Dark Elf town. Instead, he went straight to the other direction, the west. According to the news I received from Kofi before, a black dragon once lived in the west of this dungeon. That's right, Bai Yi's plan today is to find the black dragon. No, strictly speaking, it is to find the black dragon's lair. Dragons are creatures that like to collect treasures. If the bone dragon in the Dark Elf town yesterday is the black dragon from the west, then it means that the other party has left its lair. But the treasure will most likely remain in the nest. Bai Yi murmured in his heart, and the corners of his mouth raised involuntarily. This was the plan he decided on yesterday. Because Bai Yi didn't synthesize the fixation yesterday, he didn't have much information about defeating the bone dragon, so he planned to go to the west to find the black dragon's lair first. Anyway, I can't beat you, so I will steal your treasure during your lifetime. The black dragon's treasure. There must be good stuff in there. If you find some suitable items at that time, use them to synthesize them to make yourself stronger, and then deal with the bone dragon. It is equivalent to saying that you can use the treasure of the bone dragon to strengthen yourself, and then deal with the bone dragon, so that the bone dragon can have a sense of participation in the process of defeating it. Bone dragon. Thank you. In other words, the bone dragon doesn't know what Bai Yi is thinking, otherwise it would probably chase Bai Yi angrily and spit out dragon breath, right? Suppressing the smile on his lips, Bai Yi controlled the character to run towards the west. He didn't know how long he ran before he came to an area that looked like a mountain. However, there are no mountains in the dungeon. Everything in front of you is a mountain-like shape. Strictly speaking, it is a mountain made of minerals. Otherwise, there are a lot of minerals in the dungeon. This place is located underground, it is an underground world, and there is no shortage of minerals. That is to say, Bai Yi doesn't have machinery or the skills to mine quickly, otherwise he wouldn't mind digging here for a while. If nothing else, there will definitely be no shortage of iron ore for a long time. I wonder if the black dragon's lair is in this mine. Bai Yi murmured and was about to control the character to move forward when suddenly, a roar came from the front. Mia suddenly showed a scared expression. Bai Yi looked calm and controlled the character to explore in the direction of the source of the sound. Next moment, black mist surges. A spider-like figure jumped out of the black mist at a terrifying speed and swooped towards Bai Yi. Amputee. Bai Yi looked shocked and recognized the monster. He immediately reacted quickly and controlled the character to avoid it, letting the monster escape. The monster missed. The moment the amputee landed, he turned back suddenly and opened his mouth full of black blood. A long tongue swam like a snake, and the tip of the tongue pierced like a sharp arrow. A look of disgust flashed in Bai Yi's eyes, and the staff appeared in his hand, swung it quickly, and displayed an absorption shield. Bang! The blow was blocked. But it's not over yet. The amputee's tongue did not retract, but opened a densely packed small mouth on it. Yes, it was a small mouth full of teeth, and it spat out black fluids crazily. Poisonous acid contains terrifying corrosive properties. Bai Yi, who had battle experience with amputees in his previous life, had already expected this, which was why he felt disgusted just now. The amputee is a powerful and mind-numbing monster. This kind of monster is originally humanoid, but it can forcibly twist and cut off its own limbs, and climb like a spider, just like the Kayako in a horror movie. It's fast, powerful, has weird offensive methods, and even has strong defense. Unless they have extraordinary professions, sufficient skills, and rich combat experience, ordinary players will basically die if they encounter them. And Bai Yi happens to be no ordinary player. Snort. Bai Yi snorted coldly and switched the staff to his left hand. Immediately, the magic sword in his right hand condensed and slashed out with one sword. With a pop, the amputee's tongue was immediately cut off, and black blood spurted out from the wound. He quickly shrank back and made a painful sound. Looking at Yi, his eyes were filled with tears. Poison. Just in time, let me try my new skills on you. Bai Yi's eyes were cold, and with a wave of his left hand staff, a dark spear with silvery white lines suddenly condensed and penetrated towards the amputee. Puff! The speed of the forbidden demon spear is very fast, like a silvery white stream of light passing by. The next moment, it pierced the amputee's abdomen and pinned him to the ground. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free. The moment the spear was pierced, dense silver white lines appeared on the amputee's body. These lines should be the reason why its magic resistance is weakened. Good. Bai Yi raised his eyes slightly and did not continue to cast spells. Instead, he condensed the magic sword and killed with the lotus sword. There was another soft sound, and the amputee's body was cut off from the middle and divided into two. The amputee is dead. Bai Yi is so powerful. Mia had been staring at the screen closely. After seeing this moment, she exclaimed in a low voice. Her big eyes blinked at Bai Yi, full of admiration. Haha, of course, a mere amputee poses no threat. Bai Yi accepted all the little guy's praise and admiration without any humility at all. After all, this is equivalent to the old father's success in front of his daughter, and he has received her daughter's admiring eyes. How can the old father be humble at this time? Even the corners of his mouth would be raised to the sky. But this demon forbidden spear is really easy to use. The increase is too strong for a mage, Bai Yi said happily. Under normal circumstances, although his magic sword is not weak, it can never kill an amputee with one sword. After all, he deliberately attacked the amputee's body part, not the neck, where the defense would be stronger and more difficult to kill. But under the weakening of the forbidden demon spear, he was killed with one sword. One can imagine the bonus brought by forbidden demon spear. Anyone who is hit by the forbidden demon spear is, literally, like a lamb to be slaughtered. But fortunately, only he has this skill. After all, it was synthesized by him. Raising the corner of his mouth, Bai Yi controlled the character to come to the corpse and waved to collect it. The collection is successful. You have obtained the amputation bone. Close black lens bracket. Amputated bone. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. A special bone in the amputee's body can be broken into powder and put into the equipment to be forged to increase the hardness of the equipment. Close black lens bracket. Good. Bai Yi nodded and put it away. The collection of these bones had been anticipated. It's a decent material, although the effect is not very big. Bai Yi controlled the character to move forward, shuttled through the black mist, and ran towards a mine. After a while, Bai Yi found a road leading directly to the mountain. Not long after walking forward, a sound broke through the air. Then he saw a white spider thread spraying towards him. Bai Yi hid in a hurry, and then saw densely packed little spiders coming from all directions. These spiders are said to be small spiders, but each one is about the size of a puppy and has a normal spider shape, except that it has a human face on its face, which is somewhat similar to a spider monster, but completely different. So many human-faced spiders. Bai Yi was surprised and subconsciously activated the sacred flames. The fire wave swept away, and the golden flames instantly engulfed and burned all the nearby human-faced spiders. These spiders may seem small and pose no threat, but they are actually troublesome. Not only can they spin silk, they are also highly poisonous, and they are numerous in number. Fortunately, I have group attack skills, otherwise it would be hard to say. Bai Yi murmured, then looked ahead on the road, frowning. There are so many small human-faced spiders here, which means that there should be a human-faced spider nest on the mountain, and there is a high probability of a human-faced spider queen. If you were an ordinary player, you would probably have decided to retreat. After all, the number of spiders in a human-faced spider's nest can be imagined. However, Bai Yi walked forward without any fear, with an eager expression on his face. Moving forward, sure enough, just as Bai Yi guessed, many small human-faced spiders came in like a tide not long after, so densely packed that it gave people a feeling of trypophobia. Holy flame! Bai Yi grinned, waved his staff, and golden flames emerged, turning into waves and sweeping across. Wherever it passed, all face spiders were burned to ashes. After advancing for about half an hour, we finally reached the end. A huge cave appeared in view. What a big hole! Mia exclaimed subconsciously. Yes, it's such a big cave. Bai Yi nodded, with an extremely excited smile on his face. Human-faced spiders generally live in naturally formed caves. But the cave in front of me is obviously not naturally formed and has certain traces of excavation. The most important thing is that the hole is too big, several meters high and wide. In the darkness, it looks like the bloody mouth of a huge beast is about to swallow him. The moment he saw this cave, Bai Yi knew that his decision today was right. You're right, ha ha ha. Bai Yi couldn't help laughing. Based on the size of this cave, Bai Yi can basically determine that it is the dragon's lair. However, there is a human-faced spider living in the giant dragon's lair, which also illustrates a problem. The dragon in this lair is gone. Otherwise the human-faced spider would never come. Or he died and became the bone dragon in the dark elf town. Or he left here and went to other places. No matter which guess it is good news for Bai Yi. Because he has indeed found the dragon's lair, and there may be precious secret treasures inside. Even if the original dragon here is still alive and left with his treasures, there are definitely still remnants inside. This is the experience Bai Yi has gained from many people in stories. The dragon spends its life on the road of collecting treasures, so it will accumulate a lot of treasures. Once it chooses to leave, even if it takes many treasures with it, some will be missed. And even this omission is a huge gain for ordinary people. At this time, swish, swish, swish. A dense sound suddenly sounded, giving people goosebumps. Bai Yi quickly came back to his senses and looked towards the cave. He saw countless green light spots emerging in the cave, growing from small to large, as if they were approaching Bai Yi. After reaching a certain distance, Bai Yi saw that this was not a light spot, but a large number of human-faced spiders. They smelled the scent of life on Bai Yi and came to hunt him. Ha ha ha, good time. Bai Yi is not afraid. They are just human-faced spiders, so what if there are many of them? He has seen a larger number of seas of the undead. Compared with those undead, these human-faced spiders are nothing to mention. Holy flame! Bai Yi waved his staff, and waves of fire surged forward, incinerating all the incoming human-faced spiders. Then he controlled the character and walked towards the cave. Under the light of the golden flame, the scene in the cave was clearly presented in front of him. The spider webs everywhere above the head and the debris on the ground should be the food of these human-faced spiders. After walking a few steps, Bai Yi suddenly squatted down and clicked on the ground to pick it up. You picked up gold coins X54. Close black lens bracket. You picked up gold coins X4. Close black lens bracket. You picked up gems X11. Close black lens bracket. Shining gold and lustrous gemstones. These things didn't have much effect, but they made the smile on his face even wider. After all, it was further confirmed that this place was once the dragon's lair. It also made Bai Yi step into the depths of the cave more firmly. The densely packed human-faced spiders attacked again, hundreds of them. Bai Yi still swept away with a sacred flame, destroying all the little spiders. But that's it. Hiss. A scream suddenly sounded. Immediately afterwards, several black spider webs came. Bai Yi looked up and saw that at the top of the cave, there were several obviously larger human-faced spiders climbing up and attacking him. Absorbed shield. With a wave of Bai Yi's staff, a shield immediately appeared and enveloped him. Black spider silk fell on the shield, making a corrosive sound, but it did not affect the continued existence of the shield. Seeing this, 3 huge human-faced spiders immediately jumped down from above their heads and let out a scream. Immediately, the white hair on their bodies turned into straight spikes and flew like thousands of arrows. Bai Yi used Shadow Shuttle and disappeared instantly. While avoiding these stings, he also arrived behind the human-faced spider in the next moment. The staff in his hand disappeared at some point and was replaced by a magic sword. Hold your hands tightly and move with strength. Die. With a pop, a human-faced spider was split open on the spot, and dark green juice splashed out. Seeing this, the other 2 human-faced spiders immediately spit out their spider silk to bind Bai Yi. But Bai Yi reacted quickly, the magic sword disappeared, and he switched to waving the staff. Absorbed shield. The hand of the mage. Magic sword. 3 skills are activated at once. The shield blocked the spider silk, and the hands of the 2 mages condensed out. Each held a magic sword and extended it in front of the 2 human-faced spiders. They cut it down at the same time, killing the 2 human-faced spiders directly. Bai Yi then continued walking deeper into the cave. As for the body of the human-faced spider, to be honest, I have no idea of collecting it. There is really nothing good to collect, and collecting is a waste of time. It's better to find the dragon's treasure as soon as possible. Probably the little human-faced spider was almost killed by Bai Yi, and no other human-faced spider appeared next. After a while, Bai Yi arrived at the end of the cave. Spider webs were also everywhere here, but Bai Yi looked at the huge skeleton in front of him with a shocked expression. Hiss, this is the skeleton of a giant dragon. The huge white bones are like stone pillars stuck in the earth, looking very huge. The skull at the front makes it easy to tell that it is the remains of a giant dragon. But if this is the remains of a giant dragon, it means that the bone dragon in the Dark Elf town is not the black dragon here, but another one. Although Bai Yi was curious that there were 2 giant dragons in this dungeon, he only glanced at them and looked away, and instead started searching around. It's not about finding the dragon's treasure. Instead, he is looking for the Spider Queen. There are so many human-faced spiders here, there must be a human-faced Spider Queen. As expected, only a puff was heard, and a sound broke through the air. Bai Yi jumped slightly and left the place, and then he saw where he was standing before being pierced by a spear condensed with spider silk. Look up to the top of your head. A huge black spider about 3 to 4 meters in length was hovering on the wall above his head, staring covetously at him. With a scream, the human-faced Spider Queen suddenly opened holes in her body, and dark purple venom spewed out from it like a tide, swallowing Bai Yi. Damn, are you discharging the flood from across here? Bai Yi twitched the corner of his mouth, and hurriedly cast his shadow to shuttle to another area. At the same time, he waved his staff and a spear of forbidden demons condensed and flew out. With a pop, the human-faced spider pierced through the body in an instant, fell from the top of the head, and hit the ground, letting out a painful scream. The human-faced Spider Queen also has magic power in her body, so Wang Li's the moment it was pierced, silver white lines appeared on its body. The huge body struggled continuously, but the spear of forbidden demon remained stable. Bai Yi looked calm and waved the staff again without any hesitation. Holy flame! Roar! The flames took off and turned into a golden fire dragon, roaring towards the human-faced Spider Queen in an instant. The next second, the human-faced Spider Queen was engulfed in flames, and her whole body was ignited and burned. A scream of agony sounded immediately. But within a second, the sound disappeared, and the human-faced spider was directly burned to death and turned into ashes. Bai Yi was not surprised at all. Human-faced spiders are not even as powerful as amputees, they are just troublesome because of their large numbers. With the powerful confinement and weakening abilities of the Forbidden Demon Spear, coupled with the terrifying power of the Holy Flame, immortality is truly amazing. Regarding the death of the human-faced Spider Queen, Bai Yi didn't have any fluctuations in his heart. Instead, he was full of expectations for the treasure hunt that would begin next. With a wave of the staff, the sacred flame lit up like a candle, illuminating the dark cave. Under the light of the fire, I began to search day and night. The dragon's cave. Look at these bones. The former dragon still died here. There must have been no time to move the treasures, so they were all left behind. In this case, there must be a lot of good things, right? I don't want too much, I'm satisfied with just 8 of them, hee. Bai Yi grinned and looked searchingly. Soon, his eyes lit up and he saw a flash of light in the corner of the cave. After walking over, his eyes suddenly widened and his breathing became rapid. This is actually a treasure chest. And still. Golden treasure chest. Woohoo, take off. Bai Yi walked towards the gold treasure chest happily. This was the first time he encountered a golden treasure chest, and he didn't know what good things would be found inside. Bai Yi rubbed his hands, full of expectations. But just as he was about to open the treasure chest, a soft light suddenly emerged from the darkness behind him. Bai Yi suddenly looked back with a slightly serious look on his face. The source of the light is the dragon's skeleton. What's the situation? Is this wreckage coming back to life? Bai Yi looked confused, but subconsciously prepared to fight. In the light, a huge dragon head slowly condensed and took shape. It was as if he was awakening from a long slumber. It opened its vicissitudes of eyes, vaguely excited, and immediately locked its gaze on Bai Yi. The breath of oaks. Human, tell me why you have the breath of oaks on your body. Oaks, who? Bai Yi pursed his lips and fell into thought for a while. Finally, After he confirmed that there was no memory related to oaks in his mind, he hesitated to speak. Ah, Lord Dragon Soul, don't you know who the oaks you are talking about is? He is my child, the descendant of the great black dragon. Dragon Soul said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Bai Yi's eyes flashed with surprise. For a moment, he thought of the bone dragon in the dark elf town. He asked how there were two giant dragons here, and he thought the bone dragon was a bit small before, but he didn't expect it to be the descendant of the black dragon. Bai Yi was silent for a while and said, in that case, I have indeed seen your child, but what I have to tell you is that your child has become a bone dragon and fallen into the arms of death. Bone dragon, how is that possible? Bai Yi's words made the dragon soul suddenly enter a state of rage, its voice became much louder, and even the light in its soul became faintly shining brighter. In response, Bai Yi subconsciously took a few steps back. A powerful creature like a giant dragon cannot be judged by common sense. Even if what is in front of him is just the soul of a giant dragon, judging from the bones, it must have been dead for a long time. But after being dead for so long, his soul still remains, which is obviously extraordinary. Who knows if 067 still has some powerful abilities. If he killed himself in a rage, it would be too unfair. But he also knew why the dragon soul in front of him was so furious. A powerful black dragon, who would have thought that his descendant would actually become a bone dragon? As the shame of the dragon, the bone dragon is looked down upon by other dragons, and is not even recognized by the dragon. Bai Yi wondered whether he should speak to comfort the dragon in front of him. But before he could speak, the violent aura emanating from the dragon soul suddenly dissipated, and its momentum became much lower. My descendant, haha, actually became a bone dragon. What a shame. But in such a world, nothing is impossible. It looked up in the direction outside the cave, as if it could see the surging waves of black mist outside, and it couldn't help but sigh. Then, it looked at Bai Yi, sizing it up a little, and after a while, it asked. Human, it's surprising that you can get here with such a weak strength. What do you mean I am so weak? In the novel, I am considered a genius who can leapfrog and fight. This dragon really can't talk. Bai Yi curled his lips and said, Lord Dragon Soul, although my strength may be a little weaker, this is not a dangerous forbidden area, is it? You're right. Dragon Soul nodded, sighed and said, it seems that you are very confident in your own strength. I've always been like this. Very well, then I was wondering if you could do me a favor. Oh, Bai Yi raised his eyebrows, looking surprised. Lord Dragon Soul, I wonder what you want me to do. Dragon Soul closed his eyes, as if he could not bear it, but when he opened his eyes immediately, a trace of determination still flashed through him. I hope you can kill Feox for me. What? Bai Yi looked stunned, suspecting that he heard wrongly, and couldn't help but confirm. Are you sure you want me to kill Oaks? Your child. Good. Dragon Soul nodded and said in a deep voice. If it's the past, that's it. Even if you become a bone dragon, you are still my child. But now everything is swallowed up by darkness. In such a world, it turns into a bone dragon. It has obviously become an irrational monster. Rather than letting it sink forever, it's better to kill it and let it be freed. Hearing this, Bai Yi suddenly realized, but then asked doubtfully. Lord Dragon Soul, please forgive my curiosity. I want to know why you are so sure that your child is irrational. It's normal for a weak human being not to be able to tell due to your strength. There was a hint of sarcasm in Dragon Soul's tone subconsciously. Bai Yi looked indifferent and listened to what Dragon Soul said next without caring. That's what dragons are like. Unless you are powerful enough to conquer the dragon, you will always speak in this tone. Dragon Soul continued. The world has been swallowed by darkness, and darkness contains the will of madness and chaos. The transformation of the undead will absorb the energy in the darkness. But today's darkness is not pure, so it is inevitable that we cannot remain rational. It's pretty good that he didn't become a weird puppet. I see. After hearing what Dragon Soul said, Bai Yi nodded suddenly. Seeing this, Dragon Soul said again. I don't want my child to sink into an irrational life, but I have also died a long time ago, and there is only a trace of my soul left. I cannot take action myself. I can only ask you to help me kill it and let it end its pain. Bai Yi was stunned. He was embarrassed to say that he had planned to kill your son. However, in the eyes of Dragon Soul, Bai Yi was unwilling to do so. Therefore, it spoke. Don't worry, human being, as long as you agree to my request, I will pay you a reward that makes your heart beat. Remuneration. Bai Yi's eyes lit up, and he immediately looked up at Dragon Soul with curiosity on his face. The Dragon Soul had no words, but light bloomed from its body. Immediately, a blood-red heart like a gem appeared on the screen out of thin air. Gulu, is this? Looking at this heart, Bai Yi swallowed his saliva subconsciously, his eyes full of blazing color. He already guessed what it was. Noticing Bai Yi's strangeness, Dragon Soul smiled softly and said proudly, "Yes, this is my heart, the heart of a great black dragon. When I was dying, I kept my heart. Although time has passed, this heart still retains most of the power I had during my lifetime." Pity, Dragon Soul said helplessly. This was originally what I left for Oaks, relying on my heart as enough for it to grow quickly. But I didn't expect that when I heard about it again, it would be bad news. Hearing this, Bai Yi's eyes flashed with excitement. Good guy, I didn't expect it to be the heart of a giant dragon. Moreover, this heart is very large and full of energy. It is obviously well preserved and extraordinary. Definitely a precious treasure. Dragon Soul asked, "How about it? Are you willing to agree?" ACBG. Certainly. Bai Yi nodded without hesitation. He would be a fool to refuse. A satisfied smile appeared on Dragon Soul's face, and his heart disappeared in an instant as he said, "After you kill it, come back to me, and then I will give this heart to you. I think you won't doubt the integrity of the dragon." This is hard to say. Bai Yi twitched the corner of his mouth. The dragon's integrity. The dragon seemed to have no integrity at all. Especially for the creatures that he looks down upon. But Bai Yi didn't say this. As for the conditions of the Dragon Soul, he also agreed. "Anyway, if you kill the bone dragon and don't give it to yourself when the time comes, I will dig up your bones directly and make your grave itchy." "Okay, let's talk about it then." Bai Yi nodded, grinned, and rubbed his hands. "Lord Dragon Soul, since this heart is no longer useful to you, then I think those treasures you used to have must be useless too, right? I wonder if you can tell me where they are." Hee. Dragon Soul rolled his eyes and said angrily, "I knew that you, a human being, would appear here, not because of exploration, but for my treasure. Ahem, you also know this. The world is difficult now. As a weak human being, I can only rely on finding treasures to enhance my strength in order to survive in such a world. I have been working hard to drive away the darkness and kill the evil god. I think Lord Dragon Soul, as a former member of this world, you definitely don't mind making a contribution, right?" Quote. Dragon Soul was speechless. "It's up to you whether I believe it or not. With your strength, can you still dispel darkness? I didn't have this ability when I was alive. However, it felt that the human in front of it had something right to say. Those treasures are indeed useless to me. He is already dead, and the remaining soul is about to dissipate. Keeping it is a waste. It is better to give it to the humans in front of you." Thinking of this, Dragon Soul pondered for a while, then looked at an open space on the side and said, "I buried all my treasures in the ground before I died. You can dig them out yourself. But that was a long time ago. I don't know how much time has passed now, and I don't know how many of those treasures are still intact. Haha, it doesn't matter, as long as I have a few things, I'll be satisfied." Bai Yi said with great joy. But he wasn't in a hurry to dig. There was a treasure chest here. "Lord Dragon Soul, please wait for a moment. After I open this treasure box and dig out your treasure, I will leave to complete your mission." "Whatever," Dragon Soul said calmly. "Anyway, you'd better hurry up. My soul won't last long. It will dissipate in 7 days at most." 7 days. It's completely enough. Bai Yi raised the corners of his mouth with a confident smile, then came to the treasure box, rubbed his hands, prayed to the goddess of luck in his heart, and clicked to open it. I saw a soft light coming from the treasure chest. Then a prompt popped up on the phone screen. "You opened the gold treasure chest and obtained the basic professional rune farmer, Silk X100, and Ironwood X100. Close black lens bracket." A rune appeared in the backpack. A flash of light suddenly flashed in Bai Yi's eyes, and he immediately found the rune and clicked to view the specific information. Basic Professional Rune Farmer. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. After use, you can obtain extraordinary basic job. Become a farmer and gain corresponding talents, specializations and skills. Close black lens bracket. Really? Bai Yi looked surprised. As expected, this was a sub-professional rune. It's just a pity that the profession of farmer is. The farmer profession, as you can tell from the name, has nothing to do with combat. This is a farming occupation. It is a great bonus for growing plants. Of course, as a secondary profession, its value is self-evident. The most important thing is that Bai Yi looked at Mia, who was lying on her stomach and fell asleep again at some point, and a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Beside him, there happens to be a little guy who is suitable for the profession of farmer. Speaking of which, since the shelter evolved, the contract function has been turned on, and he has also signed contracts with Mia, Tiger Mother, etc. Suiyu knows Mia and their attributes very well. Open black lens bracket Mia. Close black lens bracket. Race, flower elf. Close black lens bracket. Extraordinary profession. None. Close black lens bracket. Level 1. Close black lens bracket. Talent. Fertile soil. The land planted by the main body will gradually become fertile over time as the main body is planted. Close black lens bracket. Skills. Accelerated growth accelerates the growth of plants. Nutrient halo turns on a halo, which allows all plants in the halo to obtain the nutrients they need for their own growth. Point. Close black lens bracket. Just look at Mia's skills and talents. Flower elves are really a perfect race for farmers. He is already good at planting, plus the bonus brought by the farmer profession. Some ordinary plants would mature in a few days in her hands. However, Mia was still sleeping, so he did not disturb her immediately. Instead, he temporarily put away the professional rune and looked at the other two items. Silk, ironwood. Ironwood is okay, a special kind of wood that is as hard as iron. It has little effect from before. But silk, it is the material required for rune drawings. And he happened to have a rune drawing in his hand. Natural ancient trees rune drawings. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The special building of the shelter can be used to synthesize the box and input materials to convert the existing room into a special building. Close black lens bracket. Materials required. Silk X100, flowers X100, soil X100, wood X100 optional, plant seeds X10 optional. Close black lens bracket. As a room type drawing, and its name is still called natural ancient tree, you can imagine the materials it requires, all of which are related to plants. Among them, the special materials that can be chosen are wood and plant seeds. As for wood, Bai has it. As for plant seeds, you can use moongrass seeds instead. What was missing before was actually soil, silk and flowers. Don't think that all special materials are available. These ordinary materials are easy to obtain. Silk is okay, you can pick it up in some towns. If you don't pick it up, the treasure chest will be opened. Only soil and flowers are a bit difficult to find in the game world of Darkland when real items cannot be used. At least all the soil Bai Yi has seen so far is pitch black. What does this mean? It means that all these soils are polluted and are not suitable for use as materials at all, unless Bai Yi wants to sleep in a room full of pollution. But he is obviously unwilling, otherwise a monster might be born in the room one day. Even if not, he would probably become a monster if he slept for too long. And the land has become like this, let alone the flowers. There are flowers, but all withered. I was stunned not to see any of the brightly colored flowers alive. That's why Bai Yi never built this drawing. Seemingly ordinary materials are quite difficult to find in the dark place. Even rarer than some special materials. But I have gathered all the silks. Let's see if we can get the rest from other players another day. Bai Yi murmured, shook his head, and turned to the open space where Dragon Soul buried the treasure, ready to dig. Without props, Bai Yi could only use the mage's hand to attack the king crazily. While digging, Bai Yi was also asking Dragon Soul about something. Lord Dragon Soul, have you lived in this dungeon for a long time? Yes, Dragon Soul nodded and recalled. Before the darkness came, I was living on the earth. I offended a powerful human demigod, so I escaped here and gave birth to oaks here. Bai Yi asked expectantly. Then do you know when the darkness is about to fall, the devil descends here, and where is the specific location? Although he felt that the sealed demon might be in the castle. But it's just a guess after all. Now that there is a living old antique in front of me, I still have to ask. Hearing this, a look of surprise appeared in Longhen's eyes and he said, "You actually know that demons have descended on this dungeon?" "Hey, before coming here, I went to the academic side and also to a snake tribe. I got some information there, including you, and I also got it from other places." Bai Yi touched his nose and explained with a smile. Hearing this, the dragon soul suddenly realized that it didn't know about the snake tribe or anything. After all, to it, the snake man is a creature that is no different from an ant and is not worth mentioning. It was the academics who impressed him deeply. Those lunatics who talked about words like research, invention, and creation all day long would do anything and everything for the sake of their so-called science. But those guys are really powerful. Although some of the weapons developed are not very powerful, some can make it fall. But those are all memories of the past. Dragon Soul sighed and said, "I vaguely remember the location where the devil descended, which is near the Dark Elf town. Why? It should be at a city wall. I have forgotten which city wall it was because it was so long ago. I only remember that an abyss door once opened there, and the demon army walked out of it and started a war with the Dark Elves. Later, academics also joined. The war broke out for a month, and the demons retreated. Now that darkness has fallen, if the remains of those demons are still there, they will be contaminated and turn into terrible monsters." As he said that, he glanced at Bai Yi, looking thoughtful. "I vaguely remember that a strong man from the academy once sealed a demon outside the Dark Elf town. Could this be your purpose?" Yes, that's it." Bai Yi's eyes lit up. He didn't expect Dragon Soul to really know, and he quickly asked, "Does Lord Dragon Soul know the specific location?" Dragon Soul nodded and gave the answer. "I know, it's just north of the Dark Elf town, not far from the Dark Elf town. That demon was different from other demons. When the war broke out between other demons and the Dark Elves, it was moving away, as if it was escaping, so I remember it deeply. It's easy to spot if you go there. Because of the powerful necromancer, it turned into a land of death, with many undead wandering around. It turns out to be there." Bai Yi nodded and remembered the news. "To the north, that should be the other side of the castle in the Dark Elf town. If you want to go there, you either have to spend a lot of time passing the Dark Elf town, or you can go through the middle." Bai Yi is sure that Xian is the latter. After all, he must visit the castle in the Dark Elf town. Although I guessed the location wrong before, one thing I am still certain about is that there must be good things in the castle. Just as I was thinking about it, there was a bang. The mage's hand dug into something hard. Bai Yi looked happy, and quickly lowered his head to look into the big pit in front of him, and a glimmer of light appeared. Finally found it. What caught the eye were gold coins, many gold coins. Bai Yi has no nonsense and takes it all. "You picked up gold coins X 521. Close black lens bracket. You picked up gold coins X 4551. Close black lens bracket. You picked up gold coins X 4511. Close black lens bracket. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket." A large number of gold coins were put into the backpack by Bai Yi. But there are still many below, which shocked Bai Yi. "Lord Dragon Soul, how many gold coins did you collect back then?" "Forgot, there are as many as a hill anyway," Dragon Soul said with a look of nostalgia on his face. "I really want to go back to the feeling of lying on the gold coins and resting. It was so wonderful, but unfortunately now I can only recall the memories of the past." "Depend on." Bai Yi's mouth twitched slightly, and his head hurt when he thought of so many gold coins at his feet. "How long will this take?" "That's all. For the sake of treasure, let's continue to collect all these gold coins." Not knowing how many gold coins he had collected, Bai Yi finally saw a huge earth-yellow boulder appear in his field of vision. Bai Yi stopped immediately and looked at the boulder carefully, his face gradually showing excitement. Dragon Soul also turned his head and looked over, surprised. "Dragon Vein Stone. This is a special ore I found under the corpse of a giant dragon. I didn't expect it to still exist, kid. You're lucky." "One. Ha ha ha, you were right, Lord Dragon Soul, my luck has always been good." Bai Yi laughed and quickly put the stone into his backpack. Open black lens bracket, Dragon Vein Stone. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. It was originally an ordinary ore, but after being continuously soaked in the dragon's blood, it absorbed the dragon's breath and mutated into a special ore, which contains the dragon's power star. Close black lens bracket. There is no doubt that this is a treasure. It is a very special ore. It can be used as a special material for construction. But the most suitable thing is to use it to make equipment. Of course, here in Baiyi, there is another option. Synthesis. Whether it is a synthetic career or skills. The former has a high probability of being able to synthesize professions related to dragons. The latter is a skill related to dragons. But no matter which one is involved with dragons, they will undoubtedly be very powerful. Baiyi didn't expect to find such ore here, which is really gratifying. Without hesitation, Baiyi continued digging. Next, Baiyi found many broken glass bottles, with a heartbroken expression on his face. Because from Dragon Soul's mouth, he knew that these wines were extremely precious wines. There is the fire of life brewed by the elves using the water of life. There is also the flaming sword that has long been famous in the human empire. These wines all have powerful effects. It's a pity that they were all broken and not a single bottle was left. As long as there is a bottle, it is earned with blood. Baiyi continued to dig. After a while, a surprised smile appeared on his face again. Even the Dragon Soul cast his gaze and said, "Lucky guy, you have found another item from my collection, and this thing is just right for you. Tisk, tisk, I didn't expect that you even have this in your collection." Baiyi picked up the blue robe in front of him and couldn't stop the smile on his face. "That's right, this is a robe, probably because of the special material. It looks blue, but occasionally there is a flash of silver. This is why it has not been damaged by the erosion of time." Baiyi finally got the robe he had dreamed of. Moreover, the effect of this robe is very deceptive. Meteor robe. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. A mage once prepared new clothes specially for himself. For this purpose, he collected many precious materials and even turned rare meteor stones into powder and blended them into it, giving it a special effect. But it is a pity that he just got this new clothes and died in the hands of an evil dragon before he could put it on. This precious robe also became the other party's trophy and was put into his own treasure house. Close black lens bracket. Time passes, the robe still exists, but some effects are still affected by time and disappear. Close black lens bracket. Effect. When equipped by a mage, all magic power consumption is reduced by 5%, and the power is increased by 5%. Close black lens bracket. Attached skill. Cleaning technique. Close black lens bracket. This robe can not only reduce the consumption of all magic, but also increase the power of all magic. These 2 points alone are enough to show how powerful this robe is, at least it is more suitable for him than the leather armor on his body. At the same time, it also comes with the skill cleaning technique. As the name suggests, this skill is used to keep clothes clean. It can keep clothes clean at all times, which is very general. But it's still a skill after all. The main reason is that this robe was once stronger, but unfortunately many of its effects disappeared under the influence of time, leaving only these. But it doesn't matter, Baiyi still feels happy. After all, with the robe, he will most likely not change it for a long time in the future. He can slowly synthesize it in the future to make it gradually stronger. Big. The only pity is that the previous leather armor has just been synthesized with black dragon scales and will be replaced. Baiyi put it on and immediately showed a satisfied smile on his face. After putting on the blue robe, he immediately had the noble temperament of a mage. The silver glow that flows from time to time on the robe adds a bit of mystery. Overall, what a yuppie. Extremely satisfied. Keep going, there should be something down there. Baiyi grinned and continued digging. Dragon Soul rolled his eyes and simply closed his eyes, choosing to turn a blind eye. After all, these are the treasures that I have collected with great difficulty. Although he only has a trace of his remnant soul left now, or even the remnant soul will be gone soon, these treasures are of no use to him. But watching it being taken away by others, I still felt heartbroken, so I could only simply stay out of sight and out of mind. Boom. After another digging session, a flash of light suddenly appeared. Baiyi looked happy. Did you dig it again? He quickly looked down, and then his face showed surprise. Hey, this is a drawing. That's right, it's a shimmering drawing. Obviously, this should also be the collection of the dragon, but it was transformed into a blueprint under the influence of the game. Bai Yi picked it up curiously and clicked to view it. Black dragon statue drawing. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The special building of the shelter can be used to synthesize the box and input materials to build the building. Close black lens bracket. It's actually a statue-like building. Bai Yi was a little surprised, but also a little happy. This kind of architectural drawings is rare, because the effect of this kind of building usually has an effect on the entire shelter or the creatures in the shelter. Belongs to domain capabilities. Very precious. I just don't know what the specific abilities are. But come to think of it, it has something to do with dragons. Of course, it is not easy to build it. Just looking at the materials required for construction, Bai Yi felt overwhelmed. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.